Good evening, everybody, and welcome into CMSportsNet's special presentation of Friday Night Football. It's the state quarterfinal round of the NPSSAA football playoffs, and Carroll County has two teams still alive in Elite Eight action. I'm Pat Stoetzer of the Community Media Center, and joining me this evening is longtime FSK football coach Bill McKenna. Bill, we got down to the Elite Eight now of both of these rounds. What's it going to be like tonight to see a couple of these Carroll County teams who are still alive going after a state championship?
I think it says a lot for Carroll County football to see two elite teams like this get as far as they are.
Yeah.
So we just look forward to seeing also progress and get to the next week at the same time.
Right, Final Four spots on the line. Yeah. We saw a little bit of snow coming down during the pregame, Bill, and I know you were talking about how the conditions could, potentially be a challenge for all four schools. What's the biggest thing that the guys are doing as they're warming up and getting ready for tonight's game?
I think as I watched them, just getting used to the field. Getting how the feet react, how they can move, loosen up the turf, so to speak, at the same time, so they get used to the traction and how they can plant their feet and so forth. Tonight's
game in the 2A, 1A state quarterfinals, it's Harford Tech at South Carroll. The Cavaliers are back in this round for the first time the second time, I should say, in as many seasons. And that game will be kicking off here shortly. And also we've got, on the 3A side, we have Westminster taking on Oakdale. That's a rematch of sorts. They scrimmaged each other during the summer before this season began. The Owls 10-1, Oakdale 9-2. That kicks off Ruby Field. The other games, South Carroll 9-1 and Harford Tech 7-4. I think the keys to all four of these, Bill, just because we've talked about these teams a lot this year, especially the Carroll County teams, is who can run the ball well in the playoffs. You run the ball well in the playoffs, you have a good chance to win.
Definitely. And it's interesting to see how the offensive and defensive lines handle the ground, so to speak. Can they open the hole? Can they get to the play? It's going to mean a lot to the running backs if they can open up those holes.
Yeah, no, that definitely is true. And we'll talk more about those running backs here soon. But our pregame report is sponsored by Genova's To Go. Locations in Westminster, Hanover, Hampstead, Manchester, and coming soon, Eldersburg. Genova's pizza, pasta, subs, and more. We wanted to show you how each of these teams advanced, which with a second-round playoff victory. Both did last week. First up, we're going to show you how Westminster got to their 3A quarterfinal. They played a really good Edgewood team in the second round of the regional playoffs, and Westminster was able to pull it out with a victory. Let's go back and take a look. CMSportsNet put together some highlights from that game. Let's see how the Owls survived and advanced. CMSportsNet High School Sports Highlights are sponsored by Genova's To Go. Locations in Westminster, Manchester, Hampstead, Hanover, and coming soon, Eldersburg. Genova's pizza, pasta, subs, and more.
The second-seeded Westminster Owls faced the third-seeded Edgewood Rams on Friday, November 11th in the second round of the Class 3A North football playoffs. The game was moved to the artificial turf of Mount Hebron High School in Ellicott City because of expected heavy rain. The two teams met in the same round a year ago, with Westminster winning by 2 touchdowns. This year, the high-scoring Owls entered as winners of 7 in a row, while Edgewood's resume boasted 7 shutouts. The Rams got the ball first and capped a nice drive that was helped by a couple of Owls penalties with a 26-yard touchdown run by Isaiah Meganson. It was 7-0 just 2.5 minutes into the game. After stopping the Owls on downs, the Rams were at it again, as Cesar Travers found a wide-open Jameer Torres for a 35-yard pass play to the 1-yard line. The Rams scored on the next play, and it was 14-0. Westminster quarterback Kyrese Walker runs around the right side for 22 yards to get the Owls into the red zone for the first time, midway through the second quarter, but Edgewood stopped the Owls on down for the third time. But the Westminster defense kept the Owls in the game, forcing 3 Rams punts in the second quarter. And when Jackson Zaransky breaks free down the middle of the field, Walker hits him in stride for a 53-yard touchdown with 34.7 seconds left in the half. The Owls were right back in the game. They trailed 14-7 at the break. After Westminster turned the ball over late in the third quarter, the Owls forced a fumble on the very next play, so it's Zaransky recovering to bring the offense back on in great field position. 2 plays later, the game was tied as Walker found Clayton Dorsey open in the end zone for his second touchdown pass of the game. Walker moved the Owls down the field with his legs and his arm to start the fourth quarter, and he scored on this run on a 3rd and goal from the 4 to give Westminster its first lead of the game at 21-14 with 8:12 to play. But on the ensuing kickoff, Edgewood's Isaiah Martin got through some traffic, made it to the sideline, and sprints away for a long touchdown. However, the point after was no good, so the Owls still led 21-20. Fisher then gave the Owls nice field position with a big kick return, and then capped a 5-minute drive with a nifty 11-yard scamper for a touchdown with 2:37 to play. Owen Harris's 4th extra point of the night made it 28-20. The Rams' last chance was extinguished under pressure from Matios Thielman, forcing a 4th down incompletion to finish a remarkable final 3 quarters by the Westminster defensive unit. The Owls ran out the clock on their 28-20 win. Walker accounted for more than 230 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Fisher ran for more than 100 yards to help the Owls move on to the Class 3A state quarterfinals for the 3rd straight time. Westminster, which improved to 10-1, will be looking for its first trip to the state semifinals since 2012. Meanwhile, Edgewood's season ends at 8-3.
Want more local sports coverage? Be sure to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So there we were. That's how Westminster survived and advanced into the Class 3A state quarterfinals. And of course, the other Carroll County team playing is South Carroll. And we were there last week as well in their regional 2nd round game where the Cavaliers played Boonsboro. And CMSportsNet was there to get some highlights from that game. And the Cavaliers did a lot in the first half and played solid defense in the second half and survived with a victory. Let's take a look at those highlights to see how the Cavaliers reached the 2nd straight 2A 1A state quarterfinal. CMSportsNet High School Sports Highlights are sponsored by Genova's To Go. Locations in Westminster, Manchester, Hampstead, Hanover, and coming soon, Eldersburg. Genova's, pizza, pasta, subs, and more. 8-1 South Carroll and 7-3 Boonsboro squared off at Glenelg High School on Friday, November 11th in a Class 2A 1A West Region 2nd round matchup. A rematch of last year's regional 2nd round clash won by the Cavaliers in Winfield. After a Boonsboro 3-and-out, South Carroll scores on its first possession. Here's A.J. Rodriguez with a 24-yard scamper to put 6 points on the board. Ryan Corrado's PAT makes it 7-0 South Carroll with 8 minutes to play in the opening quarter. The Warriors were shut out 35-0 last season, but not this time around. Boonsboro answers with a 5-play drive that ends with a 56-yard touchdown pass from Matthew Summers to Luke Churchy. We're tied at 7-7 with 5:16 to go in the first. South Carroll's offense responds. It's a 10-play, 61-yard drive, and quarterback Carter Mazalewski keeps it for a 4-yard touchdown. The Cavaliers go ahead 14-7 after another Corrado extra point. And Mazalewski shines on defense too. Here's an interception on Boonsboro's next possession that gives the ball back to South Carroll. Interception! Both teams buck up on defense. SC's Gennaro Marchani comes up with a sack on Summers late in the first half on 3rd down. And the Cavs take advantage of a good punt return from Caden Petrucci. After a long pass from Mazalewski to Jackson Strelzik, Mazalewski keeps it again for another 4-yard touchdown. The point after is blocked, but South Carroll takes a 20-7 lead into halftime. Boonsboro's defense comes up with a big play early in the 3rd quarter. Mazalewski gets picked off by Robert Nagy, and the Warriors are soon in 1st and goal. And they cut into South Carroll's lead when Churchy scores from 1 yard out. Boonsboro now trails 20-14 with 9:47 to play in the 3rd. The Cavaliers stiffen on defense down the stretch. They put together a fourth down stop, and Nagy fumbles the ball. South Carroll takes over on downs. And Rodriguez helps the Cavs seal the win on this third down pickup. Another one from Strelzik on the same drive puts this game away. Final score is South Carroll 20, Boonsboro 14. A.J. Rodriguez goes for 128 yards on the ground, and Carter Mazalewski adds 52 rushing yards for the Cavaliers. They're 9-1 and back in the 2A-1A state quarterfinals to be played next weekend at Parker Field. Want more local sports coverage? Be sure to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So yeah, there we have it. South Carroll and Westminster are in to the state quarterfinals. And before we start watching some of this the coverage and highlights, we wanted to show you our weekly interviews we do with each coach. We get down to the practices and try to talk to the coaches as the teams are preparing for their game each week. And first up is going to be Westminster coach Chris Basler. We caught up with Coach Basler as his guys get ready for Oakdale, a tough customer from Frederick County. And let's hear what Coach Basler had to say as Westminster prepares for its quarterfinal matchup.
Coach, your signal caller has been really impressive this year, and that's junior quarterback Kyrese Walker. You know, last year he was catching touchdowns and defending them. This year he's throwing them. You've seen him longer than anybody around here. You've seen him on the practice field, under the Friday night lights. Talk to me about some of the development you've seen from your quarterback.
You know, I think, Kyrese has obviously always been talented. You know, he was a first-team all-conference last year as a DB. We knew this was what he was capable of, and he's really matured and grown into being a leader. And he's just done a great job this year. And on offense, we go as he goes.
You're seeing Oakdale this Friday in the quarterfinals. You saw them beginning of the year, came down here to scrim with you guys here at Ruby Field. Is there anything you feel you can take from that matchup and apply it to Friday? Not really. That seems like a lifetime ago. And they've played a lot of football, and we've played a lot of football. And, I think both teams are playing really well right now. And I think there's some familiarity, X's and O's wise. They probably feel the same way about it. But, it's just going to come down to which team can execute more. And, it should be a great game. And I know we're looking forward to it.
Our thanks to Coach Chris Basler for giving us some of his time, and he's given us this time all season long. And who knows, maybe we'll be talking to him again next week too. But also we met up with Coach Mike Krause down in South Carroll as he had the Cavaliers preparing for their matchup with Harford Tech. Let's hear what Coach Krause had to say as South Carroll, like we said, back in the state quarterfinals for the second time in a row. Coach, how proud are you of the way the guys started strong in that game last week against Boonsboro and then sort of gutted it out in the second half? Not that you didn't make plays, but just it was a tough game, and that's what you got to do in the playoffs.
Absolutely. Well, you take one play at a time, and we told our guys during halftime that they were going to make some adjustments and that they had to be prepared to play a full 48 minutes, and fortunately we were able to do that.
The defense has been, we talked about this, a calling card. How have you seen that defense grow this year and tighten up? A little different than it was from last year's team, but still a lot of the same results.
Yeah, well, we try to do the Bill Belichick theory, so to speak, take their best players out of the equation and force them to do things maybe they're not accustomed to. And so far we've been pretty successful with that, and that'll be our ticket moving forward as well.
I know this is a different Harford Tech team, but a team you played in the playoffs last year. Do you lean on anything that you remember from them last season, just how you had them at home and it was a game that went down to the wire? Do you want your guys to remember what that felt like?
Absolutely. We have reminded them all week of it. They're a well-coached football team. They're really good up front. Their skill players are still as good. I don't know if they're as good as the Mendez brothers, but we feel like we're going to have to play at the top of our game to hopefully be successful.
Being at home again, you expect a good crowd. The kids are obviously looking forward to it. You just mentioned to me you wouldn't be practicing on Thanksgiving morning, and to do that, you got to win Friday. So looking forward to an exciting event on Friday.
No question. I think the SC community is behind us. I think the kids will come out. They'll support our players. They'll support their friends, and we'll hopefully, like I said, be practicing next Thursday.
Our thanks to Coach Krause as well for giving us some of his time as his team prepares for its state quarterfinal. Coach, I almost forgot. We've got some more people here helping us out tonight, and my apologies, but we're going to go into our command center right now and check in with Bob Blueball, who's kind of manning the control room as we set to give you some highlights and some reactions and some plays this evening from both games. Bob, how are things going back there in command center?
Thanks, Pat.
As usual, lots of excitement back here in the CMSportsNet control room and lots of anticipation for what should be two really good state quarterfinal football games. We've got cameras at Parker Field and Ruby Field, and we're contractually not allowed to show you live footage, but we're going to get you a lot of highlights to keep everybody up to date. And then, obviously, we're going to be getting a lot of analysis from you and Bill. The stakes are high. Westminster's trying to get back to the state semifinals for the first time since 2012, and South Carroll for the first time since last year. Of course, they made the state championship game last year, but no team from Carroll has ever won a state football title. That's what we'll be shooting for this year. So we'll come back here into the control room from time to time tonight, and you'll see the folks working back in behind the scenes trying to make everything happen. But for now, let's get back to you guys and get ready for some football.
Absolutely, yeah, looking forward to it. And I think we're also going to take a look a little bit at how the brackets, the remaining teams shape up. Coach, you know, we're into the Elite Eight now, so you've got just a handful of games left in each classification. There's 6 classifications now in the MPSSAA. I think, you know, again, with the 1 seed being, the 1 seed plays the 8 seed, 2 seed plays the 7 seed. The winners move on to the semifinals and so on and so forth until we get down to, like Bob said, a state championship game. Do we have brackets to kind of take a peek at here? The 3A or the 2A, 1A? One of the other ones are going to be popping up here momentarily, but we can get to them when we do. But, you know, you mentioned the conditions, Coach. You mentioned the way that the teams want to run. Which team is going to be able to make maybe a pop a throw here or there? Because like you said to me a little while ago, the air game could be critical early on.
Definitely. I think the quarterbacks or the coaches really are going to decide, depending on the ability to move. If they see that the receivers have good traction, they might just take a chance early in the game, throw the ball.
Right.
Why not?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, no, that's true. And we mentioned already that, you know, the team that makes the least amount of mistakes will probably be the one that comes out on top. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to send it out to Westminster, where the Owls and the Bears have kicked off from Ruby Field, and we'll take a look at sort of what happened on the first possession of the game. So let's go ahead and take a look at that, and we'll see what happens here with Oakdale and Westminster squaring off. Ruby Field, Class 3A state quarterfinal. I believe the coin toss was just not too long ago, and the Owls are going to receive the opening kickoff at Ruby Field. So this is the coin toss here, Coach. Looks like, yeah, Oakdale did receive it and deferred, so Westminster will be getting it first. You can still see some of that snow on the field, Coach. I guess, you know, when you see that, when you got a game like this and it doesn't look too bad, you can see that the footing is fine, but there's going to be some slippery conditions, right? So what are you telling your guys here as you get ready for the opening kickoff?
Well, let's plant our feet, try to get good solid footing. Actually, try to find an open spot where there's some pretty good turf to run out.
Right.
Find a good dry spot.
Right, and right away, there it is, the very first play of the game, the kickoff. Westminster Westminster commits a fumble, and Oakdale is going to get the ball in really good field position. Here's what they do on a third down. I'm sorry, this was their first down play, so it's good defense there by number 10, Mason Fisher from Westminster. But you're giving Oakdale a short field, Coach, and that's usually a recipe for disaster. And there it is right there, that hook and ladder.
Yeah.
A play of the old, trick play out of the old bag there.
Exactly. But there it again, it's throwing the ball early.
Right. That was number 1, Rory Blanchard for Oakdale, who scored on that touchdown. I believe the extra point was missed, or they went for 2, and didn't get it. So Oakdale had a 6-0 lead, and then Westminster gets the ball back. So let's take a look at that drive as the Owls try to answer Oakdale's first points of the game. So here's Oakdale kicking off, Coach, to Westminster. And this time, I believe Mason Fisher's going to get his hands on it, and usually good things happen. And take a look at this.
There we go. He's been like this all year.
He sure has.
What a threat he is for the Owls.
No doubt, and he got it into their territory, Oakdale's territory. And here's another threat. Number 2, Kyrese Walker, their junior quarterback. We talked about how their ground game is. Take a look at him on this play as he gets around the right end here. Well, we're going to see a throw, excuse me. But that's Mason Fisher again. But so lethal, these two guys for Westminster all year. Oh, breaking tackles, getting into the red zone there for Westminster. And there's Kyrese again, using his feet. And that's a touchdown for the Owls, I think. So that's an answer, right, Coach?
Definitely. He's been a part of the Owls offense all year. He's so quick. He gets a step and he can be gone.
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe Westminster kicked the extra point, and they have a 7-6 lead early in that game. So also, obviously, like you said, Coach, off to a good start. You want to make sure you can answer that first possession. They turned it over there on that kickoff, but Westminster was able to keep them from scoring 2 and then answer them on that on their next drive and move the ball well too.
They moved the ball well. The offensive blocked well. The runners got out, and they were able to run well, find some good footing out there, which he did, Kyrie on his run.
Yeah, Walker and Fisher both. With Fisher able to make some people miss.
Two stellar athletes.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about that. So I think we got some more stuff to show you from Westminster. Oh, it actually looks like we're going to South Carroll's coin toss. So let's take a look at that game starting a little bit later. I heard Harford Tech had some potential problems getting to the field, but looks like the coin toss was deferred, and South Carroll will be kicking off to Harford Tech on their opening kick. Again, this is a rematch of last year's game, and that's pretty good field position for Harford Tech from number 13, Samuel Roney IV. This is a sophomore quarterback, number 2, Thomas Smith. Oh, and he was able to.
That's nice.
Yeah, nice move to get around the defender. That puts Harford Tech into the red zone.
And there we go, trying to throw right off the bat.
Yeah, like you said. Here's one that's nicely defended by South Carroll. Number 5, Carter Mazalewski, who's their quarterback, also plays some defense. And here's a throw over the middle, just out of the reach. Yeah. So that was Westminster, or excuse me, that was South Carroll's holding Harford Tech on that first drive.
And not surprising, trying to throw the ball early.
Yeah, just like you mentioned, Coach. I mean, the ground game is going to be big, but if you can pop a throw here or there and kind of take the top off the defense, it could go a long way towards somebody having
We
success.
know they both have good running attacks.
Absolutely. A.J. Rodriguez from South Carroll leads the county in rushing, 1,439 yards. He's got 22 touchdowns this year, Coach. He's second all-time in South Carroll's history in rushing yards. They've had a great history of running the ball, and only Chris Gavin, who is his running backs coach at South Carroll, has more career yards. He's got 3,027. So AJ's got 2,600 and some, and he told us before the season he wanted nothing more than to beat his coach's record of all-time yards. They'd have to win a few more games likely, but who knows? AJ might have a chance to do it. We mentioned Carter Mazalewski, the senior quarterback. He runs the ball as well, too, 357 yards rushing and 7 touchdown passes. We're going to check Westminster here again, Coach. Looks like the Owls' next possession. And you mentioned Kyrie's.
There goes, there he is.
And there he is around the right side. That might have been their first drive, actually, earlier, but that's their second drive of the game, excuse me. So they got down into the red zone again. And we'll see what they do with it. So here's Walker again running the ball. We got a defensive lineman sort of pushed in there.
That
might have been a fourth down play. I think it was
a fourth
and
down
I think
play.
he's short. Yeah, so Oakdale makes a stand there, Coach. And again, these kind of possessions, we have said all these possessions are so important to each of these teams, especially in the playoffs where everything is, you live and die by the game of inches that you guys love to play so much. Ground-wise for Westminster, they run it so well with Kyrie's, but they can also throw it pretty well to Zaransky and Clayton Dorsey and Mason Fisher, who you mentioned. Could that be an advantage on Westminster's side?
I think they have such a balanced attack that when one thing is not going well, then the other part of their attack can pick it up. And they rely on both aspects when they're moving the ball.
Right.
They just don't rely on Walker or Fisher.
Right. And Westminster defense has obviously been really good this season too. I think we're going to take a look at some Westminster defensive plays here from this first quarter between the Owls and the Oakdale Bears. So here's Oakdale over here. Number 2 is Evan Austin, quarterback, and he's throwing a long pass incomplete. So, Westminster's defense coach is going to defend as well as he can against this Oakdale attack. There's Austin again throwing out to the flat. That's Blanchard. And a good stop on third down. So Westminster's defense, again, we mentioned how critical their air game is. We know how the quarterback and the receiver can run the ball, but the defense ability, Andrew Schneider leads the county in tackles for them. He's a senior linebacker. They're fast, they're quick, they can make plays. If Oakdale, we know what Oakdale can do because they're really good Frederick County power. Westminster's defense could also be a key to success.
We know what they always say, Pat, is that defense wins championships.
They do say that.
I always look to see how the defense how they react, how they adjust, and how they play.
And
I think that's the key.
And especially how they did after that first drive, giving them a short field, getting up a touchdown. Now it's bend, don't break, hopefully, and keeping them to only that one score. We mentioned Mason Fisher, 41 catches, 768 yards, and 10 touchdowns on offense. He's got more than that because he's got a couple punt returns. He may even have a pick six in there somewhere, but he scores every time he touches the ball, feels like. Kyrie, he's second in the county in rushing with 887 yards. He has 16 touchdowns on the ground. I expect him to use his legs a lot in this matchup. But he's also lethal through the air. 729 passing yards, and he's thrown for 19 touchdowns, which we mentioned. He might be the complete package.
I think he is. He can do all those things. He can run, he can catch, he can block. He does all the things you want out of a great player. He leads by his example.
And he's only a junior.
And he's only a junior.
Which is a big deal, right, when you're a coach. Coach, you and I were talking before we started here tonight just about cold weather and rain and snow and things. And when you had a team that had to face those kind of adversities, how important was it to get in the kids' heads early that, that's the same on both sides. We want to play our game if we want to go out there and try to win.
Exactly. We both have the same thing to handle with, but the teammate gets going first, and we want to get out there right away and take it, whether it's on offense, trying to move the ball, or on defense, nail the other team down so they can move it. But you want to get that good start either way, offensively or defensively.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And try not to make the weather be a thing, trying to make it be cold or be wet. Both sides are going to have it, right? So, yeah. Okay, let's get out to South Carroll and Harford Tech, where I believe the Cobras are on offense here late in the first quarter. Let's go ahead and take a look here, Coach, and see if we can see how Harford Tech might do something here on offense to try to score the first points of the game here in their 2A-1A state quarterfinal. So they have the ball here inside the 45-yard line of South Carroll. Okay, their quarterback is again number 2, Thomas Smith. Oh, and there's a nice pass out there out to the far sideline. That was a touchdown for the Cobras. So with only a minute and a half left in the first quarter, that was a 3rd and 7 play as well. Looks like number 23 makes the catch, Karan Evans. So Harford Tech, again, going to the air again. We talked about the ground game, and so far we've seen some teams throw the ball a lot early in this game. And that's a 6-0 lead for Harford Tech with a minute and a half to go in the first quarter as they line up for the extra
point. So they're not afraid to throw the ball?
No, they're not. They're not using the snow is done. It's a little wet out there probably, but it's not a situation of a blinding blizzard or anything like that. They're going to throw the ball tonight if they have to. Harford Tech, I believe, scored last year first in the state semifinal. And that game was a 14-13 victory for South Carroll. We're going to take a quick break here as we get situated here and get settled in for the next couple hours or so of this state quarterfinal football action. But don't go anywhere. We're coming back. We're going to have some more highlights from Westminster and Oakdale and some more from South Carroll and Harford. So stick around and we'll be right back. Hey there, I'm Pat Stoetzer.
And I'm Michael Duffy, inviting you to join us for The Score and more.
It's our new podcast, and each week we'll talk about high school sports in Carroll County. We'll share information about upcoming games, highlight coaches and athletes, and much more.
We'll even try to have a little fun along the way. Don't miss The Score and More podcast, presented by CMSportsNet.
The Score and More Sports podcast is available online at carrollmediacenter.org and on a variety of podcast channels.
What does it take to cover local high school sports? It takes staff and volunteers, equipment, training, and community support from people like you. You can help by making a donation to the Community Media Center today. Your gift is an investment in our community, our schools, and most of all, our student athletes. We want to expand our coverage to include both boys and girls sports, but we can't do it without your help. So please, make your donation today and help us bring high school sports to every screen in Carroll County.
Skill, dedication, leadership. Just a few of the things it takes to be named CMSportsNet's Athlete of the Week. Hi, I'm Pat Stoetzer. Each week, CMSportsNet recognizes an outstanding player for their contribution to their sport. Meet some of Carroll County student athletes and join us as we celebrate their performance, impact, and outstanding accomplishments. The CMSportsNet Athlete of the Week is sponsored by Genova's To Go, locations in Westminster, Manchester, Hampstead, Hanover, and coming soon, Eldersburg. Genova's To Go, pizza, pasta, subs, and more.
That's picked off by touchdown.
Hi, I'm Mike Preston of the Community Media Center. We're going to give you front row seats of highlights of Carroll County football, and we're going to take you behind the scenes. We're going to give you a front row seat. We're going to take you places that no one else can take you.
But we need your help. We're looking for volunteers to help us cover the game. If you have a passion for the sport and are willing to learn, we want to hear from you.
You can bring high school football to every screen in Carroll County. Some of the best plays in football happen right here, and you can be a part of it.
Contact us today and find out how you can help us capture some of the best plays in the game.
Are you ready to join the team?
Welcome back to our special coverage, Friday Night Football State Quarterfinal Edition. I'm Pat Stoetzer. With me is Bill McKenna. We've got Harford Tech leading South Carroll 7-0 late in the first quarter, and we've got Westminster leading Oakdale 7-6 into the second quarter there at Ruby Field. The South Carroll game started a little bit late. I think Harford Tech had some transportation issues getting their way down to South Carroll. A little bit of snow, a little bit of rush hour traffic, but they did make it, and they are playing. Coach, you know, we were talking before the game started about both of these schools having such a great year all year round. Co-county champions along with Liberty, a three-way tie for the county title. You watched Westminster and South Carroll both a little bit. What impressed you the most about just how the Owls play? Well, let's start with them. What impressed you the most about Westminster?
Well, what impressed me most is the threat that they are offensively, with Kyrie running the ball and Fisher running the ball, catching the ball. And don't put it away, forget their offensive line. They do a great job of protecting the quarterback, leading the block. So that's the thing that impressed me most about Westminster. They can go to their two-way attack, and it's a balanced attack so that they can move the ball and score. So a very impressive offensive team. And defense. Their defense has done well against Oakdale. And that's been a big thing for them, like we talked before about the importance of a good defense.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And you know, their only loss of the season was to South Carroll. I know maybe you've seen the Owls a little bit more than the Cavaliers, but you've seen the Cavaliers a little bit. We've talked a lot about AJ, of course. What's their biggest thing about you know, how they can steamroll people like they have so far?
You said it with AJ.
Yeah.
He's the man. He's the one they can go to. Plus, they got the quarterback. He's a good runner, good passer.
Right.
And they're team leaders, and they keep that team moving, keep that team hustled. They're a team. It's not one or two individuals that we talked about, AJ and the quarterback, but you got some other guys on the team to make the team go too. So that's what's impressive.
Right.
I like to watch their teamwork as they move, as they go.
Yeah, well, we're going to definitely see a little bit of that. I think we're going to actually go see some South Carroll action here in a moment. And again, it was Harford Tech 7-0 over South Carroll. Let's take a look here, Coach, and see on a third down run. On the third down run, you got Mazalewski at quarterback, or a third down play, I should say, and there's a quick pass over there on the far side. And that's a big gain for South Carroll up to midfield. There you go, A.J. Rodriguez stepping out as a receiver and making a nice catch.
When you got talented individuals like that, you can do a lot of great things with them to get the team moving.
Yeah, no doubt. On a third down play like that to move the sticks, that's big because Harford Tech scored the first points of this game. South Carroll's going to have to respond, and right now they're on the move. Let's head back out to Westminster and see what we've got with the Owls, who also are on the move against Oakdale. So a 3rd and 7, looks like they're into Oakdale territory, Coach.
They are.
And there's Kyrie dropping back to throw over the middle, incomplete on 3rd and 7. So that's going to bring up a 4th down play. So they're going to try to get that play here and see how they do on that 4th down. Looks like they were in that no man's land where they weren't going to try to kick a field goal. Let's take a look at the 4th down play, Coach, and see what we got. Going to be a similar lineup here, or a similar formation. And Kyrie's going to throw here on the near sideline. Oh, just a little bit
just off his
outstretched.
fingertips.
Trying to get it to Clayton Dorsey, number 9. Looks like he wanted a flag, but no flag there. So a turnover on downs, coach, there for Westminster. But again, midway through or 5 minutes to go in the second quarter, they lead by 1 point. I'm surprised. I'm surprised so far. And throwing the ball a little bit too. Oakdale's going to make some adjustments, obviously, on defense, try to stop that run.
I would think they're putting a lot of pressure on Oakdale. So we'll see how Oakdale responds to this at the same time.
Right. So we got Westminster 7, Oakdale 6 with 5.5 or so to go in the second quarter. And we've got Harford Tech leading South Carroll early in the second quarter, 7-0. The Cavaliers trying to score their first points of the game. In fact, we're going to head over to South Carroll now, Parker Field, and see how they're doing there. The Cavaliers had the ball. And near midfield after we saw that AJ Rodriguez catch. Here we go, Coach. So midfield on a 3rd and 9. Mazalewski. Ooh, a little bit all of the reach. Looked like maybe I don't know if that was a deflected pass or not.
Yeah, it was like a good coverage by Harford on that too.
Yeah, you're right. So it's going to be. Looks like South Carroll punted on that drive instead of trying to go for it there near midfield. So South Carroll's trying to play some field position game here, which is also a key to victory tonight. Is you can try to limit the other team's possessions on short fields, long drives, things of that nature. Could go a long way toward a victory, but that's a punt there for South Carroll. Again, 7-0 there. Harford Tech over South Carroll early in the second quarter after the punt there. Westminster leads Oakdale 7-6 with a few minutes to go there in the second quarter. And let's go ahead and take a look and see the Bears have the ball now after Westminster failed to convert that last drive. So a 2nd and 5 from. Looks like about the 40-yard line for Oakdale. Again, the quarterback's Evan Austin. Yeah. And he's going to hand it off to Rory Blanchard. Oh, he's going to get around the far side.
He got around the corner.
He sure did. He got the angle, and he stays in bounds, Coach.
Yeah.
A 60-yard touchdown run for Rory Blanchard, senior, number 1 for Oakdale. And that's going to give the Bears a lead back. It's going to be 12-7 there, pending the extra point. Yeah, looks like they're going to maybe go for 2 there at Ruby Field. They have a 12-7 lead, trying to make it a full touchdown lead there, too, with Oakdale. They've scored 2 touchdowns on big, long plays. It looks like the hook and lateral, and, of course, that nice run there. Limiting those big plays, Coach, can it be the difference in the win and the loss? Because you want to try to that field position so important.
Coaches like to have a bag of tricks every once in a while. Plays that they can, when things aren't going right, they can pull out of the hat and have a hook and lateral or a certain way that they run the outside sweep to try to open the doorway again.
A misdirection or
so
something like that.
So you pull whatever you can to get something going for
Especially in the state quarterfinals.
State quarterfinals.
That's right.
A lot of stake.
Yeah, a lot of stake. Let's take a look and see. The Bears went for 2 down there to try to go up by a full touchdown, 14-7. Let's take a look and see if they line up for 2.
This is going to be big 2 points. Let's see how they all play this.
Right. They try to go up by a full touchdown. And that's, did he get in? Yeah, the Bears think he did, but I don't think they didn't get in. I think they did not get in.
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. One official says yes, but I don't know if that was true. I'll stick with that or not and see if they got it. It looks like they did not. They came up a little bit short, so after the officials talked it over, they decided that Oakdale didn't get in. So it's a 12-7 lead for the Bears with 3:05 to go in that half. And the Owls sort of dodged a little bit of a bullet there. Now they can take the lead with a 1-score lead. So 12-7 Oakdale with 3:05 to go, and 7-0 Harford Tech with a lot of time left in that second quarter.
Yeah, those 2 points could be big.
They could.
Toward the end of the game.
Absolutely. So. Harford Tech, South Carroll last year in the semifinals was a 1-point game, and Harford Tech missed a point after early in the fourth quarter. You thought, well, it's a lot of game left. South Carroll marched down to take the lead and won it by a point with a good defensive stand. So let's go back to South Carroll and see what we've got here with the Harford Tech and South Carroll. I believe it was a 4th down play for the Cavaliers. Oh, it was a fake punt. Carter Mazalewski tried to get it away and could not do it. So I don't know if that was a design fake or he saw something there, Coach. A little bit of a risky play near midfield.
It looked like it was a design play, though, the way it was set up.
Wow, so you mentioned the bag of tricks. There's one right there. We'll see what happens there. It could be costly, but you never know. But it just seemed like it was a little bit odd at midfield to to have that punt like that. But anyway, Harford Tech takes the ball, regains the ball on offense, up by 7-0, and close to midfield there at Parker Field. We mentioned this was a rematch, like we said that already, but this game was at Parker Field last year as well, and it came right down to the wire.
Sometimes coaches see a way that people line up defensively, and it gives them, we can make it work because we see a defect in the defense to be able to try it.
Right.
Maybe they just saw something that would allow them.
Yeah, no doubt, that's true. You see a little gap and you try to take it and a roll of the dice. It is early, second quarter, still 10 plus minutes to go there at Parker Field. Harford Tech, last week they beat Parkside 30-13 to reach the quarterfinals. Sophomore running back Jamal Park, he leads the Cobras with 859 rushing yards, and that's according to Harford Tech's Max Preps page. And Karan Evans, who just we saw, has 44 receptions for a team high. For their defense, Nate Geller, he played in last year's game. He's got 85 tackles for defense on Harford Tech, coach. 20.5 of those tackles are for loss. So he's a big playmaker for their defense.
I think there's something mentioned him about several big-time colleges.
Oh, yeah?
Looking at him.
Geller from Harford Tech? Okay, yeah. And he also has 10.5 sacks, while one of their seniors, Mateo McGraw, has 5 interceptions. We mentioned Carter Mazalewski. He's one of the big playmakers for South Carroll. He was recently our CMSportsNet Athlete of the Week. We're going to show you that interview with Carter right now, and then we'll come back for some more action. Here's Carter Mazalewski, the latest CMSportsNet Athlete of the Week. The CMSportsNet Athlete of the Week is sponsored by Genova's To Go. Locations in Westminster, Manchester, Hampstead, Hanover, and coming soon, Eldersburg. Genova's, pizza, pasta, subs, and more. We're back here for another CMSportsNet Athlete of the Week. This week it's Carter Mazalewski of South Carroll. Threw for over 100 yards, ran for over 50, rushed for 2 touchdowns, threw an interception in on defense as well with a handful of tackles, and South Carroll beat Boonsboro in the playoffs. Carter, you play on both sides, obviously, but we talked a little bit Friday, too, about the ground game. How important has that been to your guys' success this season when you're able to get that ground game going, whether it's yourself or AJ? Just obviously good things happen.
Yeah, that's like the staple of our offense. We always want to get the running game going. It wastes time on the clock, and it just drains our opponents.
And not that you guys can't throw, and you do throw. You got a handful of receivers you can throw to. How's the passing game come along for you this year? I know you're coming into quarterback for the first time this year in varsity. How have you seen your air game grow this year?
It's been good. It started off slow in the beginning, but then we started to develop more with the receivers as the year went on. So it's been coming along good.
And I know on defense, you had to pick against Liberty weeks ago, and then got another one here in this game. What's your main goal out there when you're roaming on defense? What's the main objective that you want to do to try to stop the other team?
I'm just letting nothing get behind my head, and if it's a run play, I'm coming up and filling the box. But when the ball's in the air, I'm just trying to make a play on the ball, come up with it.
Last year's team got all the way to the finals. This year, I know you guys are determined to do the same. What's been the biggest difference between last year's team and this year? Guys graduated, but there's other guys that have filled in those roles, and veterans like yourself and AJ and others. Is there some similarities from last year's team, or is this a whole new crew with the same mindset?
I think it's similar from last year. We have a lot of returning seniors. Our defense is mostly seniors, and it's a lot of people from last year, so which helps. But I think we're different from last year because we're a lot closer than we were last year. We have a good brotherhood within the team, so I think it helps us a lot.
All right, Carter, congrats and good luck next week.
Thank you.
Thanks. Want more local sports coverage? Be sure to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our congrats to Carter Mazalewski for the latest Athlete of the Week honors from CMSportsNet. We're going to get back into some action. Then we're going to head down to South Carroll and see what's going on in that Harford Tech South Carroll game. Again, 7-0 Cobras with about 8 minutes or so to go in that second quarter. Let's go ahead and get to Parker Field and see what's going on with the Cavaliers and the Cobras. So here we go, Coach. Looks like Harford Tech at the 30-yard line. And, a bad snap. And let's see. Looks like I think South Carroll's going to fall on that, and they have the ball at midfield.
That's another one of these factors with the weather. The football could be slippery on a hike like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was trying to see who recovered it. It looked like it might have been Jackson Shikor, number 28. It might have been, here it is again. Yeah, way over his head. And it's a race to the ball. And who wants it more right here, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, and South Carroll diving on it right now at the 48-yard line. Great hustle and a great play.
Defense.
It was Nate Bohr, 26. Yep, he's a really good playmaker for them, a senior. So good deal for South Carroll to have the ball in decent field position there. And let's head over to Westminster and see what's doing with the Owls and Oakdale. Again, Oakdale had the 12-7 lead. Westminster was deep in their own end, I think, and we're going to see if the Owls can do anything on this drive.
They're deep in their own territory.
Yeah,
as
it was
well.
second and long, and Kyrese Walker, the quarterback, he can elude a lot of defenders,
So
and that's
look
a
at
nice,
those moves.
that's a great move to get around those defenders and get it up to near mid 30-yard line there, 40-yard line, excuse me. So a big run when you're deep in your own end like that, Coach, to get that ball out of there. And
nice to have a
Kyrie's-
weapon like that.
Yeah, here's that same play. His ability to avoid the pressure up the middle, and then two guys kind of over pursue. And if you over pursue Kyrie, he made four guys miss on that play, Coach. And it turns out to be a 30-yard run for Westminster. So a nice run by Kyrese Walker to pick up a big first down. They needed that one for sure. So yeah, that's where the Owls were marching up toward midfield. Kyrese Walker, again, we talked about how he's using his arms and his legs. He's used both already so far for Westminster. And I hope the Owls are trying to regain the lead in that game against Oakdale. Oakdale has the 12-7 lead with about late in the second half, a minute or so to go, a couple minutes to go, I should say.
You don't want to try to hand tackle a guy like Kyrie. You got to get your body on.
Yes. Yeah, we mentioned in the pregame how we were watching some of the warm-ups, and you were commenting that Oakdale was going through their drills. Important to have that technique down in a game like this.
You got to put your head in front of the people and not behind them, otherwise it slip right away from you, as we saw in the replay here.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to head back out and see some more action here. Let's go and see South Carroll and Harford Tech, I believe. We'll see. Here you go, Coach, with Harford Tech has the ball back. It's a third down play. Harford Tech has the ball back, sort of in their own end as well here. And there's some pressure from South Carroll. And down goes the Cobra's QB. Was that Nate Bohr again? It might have been 26, and someone else was pressuring for. That was definitely a big long tackle for loss and a sack for South Carroll. So the field position game is working well for the Cavs with about 5.5 minutes to go in that second quarter, needing some points to try to get on the board and draw even with Harford Tech. The Cobras lead the game 7-0, but it's 4th and long. I believe the Cobras are backed up to punt on 4th down and long, and the clock's running. A play like that, still plenty of game left, but when you can get a couple big plays like that, the hustle on the punt, fumble, or whatever that was, the bad snap, and then that sack right there on Harford Tech's quarterback, the defense can really start getting things going for South Carroll.
That's what I look for. See, defenses can turn the game around. Big defensive plays, fumbles, block punts, whatever the case might be. That gets your offense going, picks them up at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's getting late in the first half. Let's get back to Ruby Field and see Westminster, who has the ball on offense, trying to get some points back on the board. Let's get out there to Ruby Field and see what Kyrese Walker and company are doing with the ball. So a 3rd and 10 here, Coach, with about 1:19 to go, under 1:20 to go here in the first half. Looks like they have the ball at around the 42-yard line. Kyrese going to throw it and hooking up with his Jackson Zaransky with a nice catch. And how many times have we seen Jackson Zaransky, number 11, make big catches? That was 3rd and 10. I know, Coach, we've seen him multiple times moving the sticks for them when they needed to. A nice throw from Kyrese to the sideline, and Jackson goes up with it with two hands, makes a nice catch.
I think he's an excellent receiver.
Me too.
I've watched him a couple times this year. Makes big plays for the Owls.
And especially when you've got a guy like Fisher, who they're they're going to double and really figure. It's guys like Clayton Dorsey, number 9, and Jackson Zaransky, number 11, that can make big plays for Westminster. So that moved the change for the Owls. I know it's now a little bit later in that drive. Westminster trying to again use some timeouts, conserve the clock, and try to get some points on the board. Meanwhile, again, you got Westminster and Oakdale, a 12-7 Oakdale lead, and you got Harford Tech 7-0 over South Carroll late in their second quarter. These games are going to be nearing halftime here soon, and it's all going to be it's going to be these last few possessions are going to be critical to both of these teams' success. We mentioned, Coach, too, that Harford Tech has already done a really good job kind of clamping down on A.J. Rodriguez, which is not an easy thing to do.
No, they're doing a great job of containing him, keeping him from breaking away. So hats off to them.
So far.
Yeah,
no doubt. A guy that averages 8 yards a carry and has scored 22 touchdowns on the ground this year hasn't quite gotten going, but it only takes one play, right, for a guy like A.J. Rodriguez to break off something big. So that remains to be seen. We'll see how the rest of the half shakes out, the rest of the game. South Carroll was a first-half team last week and did enough in the second half, obviously, to beat Boonsboro. Westminster was a second-half team last week and came back on Edgewood to advance. So We're going to be catching some more highlights here momentarily between both games. Coach, I know Carroll County went a long time without any playoff teams, and the 90s were a bit of a struggle and things of that nature. And then things turned in the 2000s, and the team that did it was Francis Sky Key. I know you're associated with that team very well. I know it's been a little bit of years now, but the way that the Eagles were able to turn their program around, you've got some, obviously you were a coach there for many years, more than about a decade or so. How cool was it to, if you can use the memory banks, how cool was it to see FSK do what they did in the year 2000 and beyond in that decade?
Well, I was associated with like Mike Coons, who had that great team where they went 9-1 in the state finals. Mike was one of my assistant coaches. Just a great guy. He had a great group of players that kind of set the tone for the rest of the 2000s. Some new coaches came along, new players came along, and they carried that tradition on and built some winning teams and a winning program.
Yeah, you mentioned he got to the regional playoffs in 2000 and really kind of was the spark for FSK. And it was the Josh Rudders, the Brad Stonecyphers, the Chris Baslers, who was Westminster's coach. Yeah. I mean, FSK had a lot of really good football players come through that program in the 2000s, and before that too.
And before that too. But yeah, a lot of Eagle pride there.
Yeah. I know you've got some of it too. You'll probably always have it, but it definitely was kind of fun to see those guys. It's been 20 years since that team really lit the fire at FSK, but that was sort of the way that, now we've got playoff teams every year because everyone makes it, but Key went to the playoffs multiple times. South Carroll started to go to the playoffs. Liberty got to the playoffs for the first time ever. Now it's South Carroll, Liberty, and Westminster going every year and fighting for these championships. It's been really fun to see.
And Key will be back.
Okay, mark your words, right?
Mark my words.
All right, let's get back out and see some highlights here. I think we're headed back to Westminster to see what's going on there at Ruby Field. So here at Westminster with just a few seconds to go. 3rd and 1 play here, Coach, on the about the 20-yard line, 15-yard line, and Kyrie's going to throw for it. Oh, wide open, number 9, Clayton Dorsey, and gets out of bounds. Oh, I'm sorry, that wasn't Clayton Dorsey. Number 19, Canton Rudders. I saw the 9 and thought it was, so that's Canton Rudders, a sophomore coach, making that catch. A nice slot receiver there.
We got 3rd and 1 here? Is that what that is? Yeah.
Yeah, it was 3rd and 1, and Rudders makes the nice catch and smartly gets out of bounds. Not a smart play for the 10th grader. We're going to see what they do here on 1st and goal. Or 1st down, I should say. It looks like it was inside the 10, so 1st and goal.
Oh, they got plenty of time.
We're going to go back to that in a second. I believe it was going to be a 1st and goal from about the 9. With not a lot of time left. There's not much time to play with this here, so you only got a couple things to do. I would say they're going to take a shot and then maybe even try to line up for a field goal. I think they did line up for a field goal. Let's take a look and see how that went down with only a few seconds left in the first half.
Yeah. I think they had, didn't they have about 17, was it 9 seconds?
5 seconds.
5 seconds.
Looks like
they're going for the field goal.
Going for the field goal. With only 5 seconds to go. 1 second and 9, probably the smart thing to do. Let's see, the snap was down.
And the kick is no good.
Oh, yeah. It looked like it had plenty of distance, but Owen Harris, the kicker, comes up a little short. So that would have made it a 2-point game, but instead, still only a 5-point game at 12-7 as we've reached halftime there. Coach, your impressions on that first half, the parts that we did see?
Parts we did see, we saw two teams make use of their talent, the talent they had. They went to their key players to either run the ball or pass the ball. Both teams showed stout defense when they needed to, too.
They did, yeah.
So that was important.
You're right. We saw their playmakers. We saw Oakdale's 2 touchdowns come on 2 big chunk plays, and Westminster's as well. They scored that touchdown on their first possession.
So it'll be interesting to see at halftime how coaches adjust, what they're going to do. They know each other now. They felt each other out. Now it's time. Let's put our game plan maybe in the play that they had kind of hidden back that they're going to do in the second half.
Okay, so you're going to halftime, and you're Oakdale's coach. What are you telling the Bears after what you watched from the first half? What do you try to tell them in the locker room?
We're able to. They're playing good defense against the Owls, but they also have some big guns, and they ran the ball well at times.
They did.
They've got to be able to run the football. Number one, hope that their defense can contain the Owls the way they have.
Right.
And that's going to be the big thing for them, I believe, is their defense and their running game. They did throw the ball a couple of times, but I still think they got to be able to run.
Now, if you're Westminster and you're taking your Owls into the half and you're going to the locker room, what are you trying to say to your guys as you're only down by 5 points here, but the offense has been hard to come by? What are you trying to talk to the troops about?
Well, we're moving the ball. We are moving the ball. Just be patient. keep doing the things we're doing. We've got the players that can make the thing move. So let's just work on our offense. We know what we can do, and keep the defensive pressure on them, especially not even letting them get outside. That'd be a big thing, because that's when we got hurt twice on outside plays. So they contain them, put pressure on them. Let's move the ball. We can throw it. We've got good receivers. We got good runners. Stick to our game plan and just move the ball forward.
We're going to head back out to South Carroll. There's still some second half left there. It's 7-0 Harford Tech, but the Cavaliers are trying to make something happen late in that half down at Parker Field. Let's take a look. So a minute and a half to go. South Carroll.
Did he intercept that?
Well, that's a big run. Oh, a nice big run here on the first down for South Carroll. That's getting them past midfield. So a nice run there. We'll watch it again. That might have been Rodriguez's best run of the night. A big hole there, Coach.
Yeah.
And the way he can kind of keep his balance. Look at his jersey's ripping off. It looks old school, Coach.
Yeah. Tearaway jerseys.
Right. Earl Campbell style. But that's past midfield now for South Carroll. So they're trying their best to make something happen here on this late drive. Points would be huge here, Coach, if you're South Carroll and you can sort of get a little momentum going into that second half. In terms of field position, they're midfield, only a little bit of time left. What's the mindset? Stick with AJ or try to get a little bit more going with the air game?
Well, I think they can throw the ball. They showed they can throw it, and they are. They're moving the ball through the air as well as on the ground.
Okay.
I'd still, find ways to get the ball to AJ.
Right.
He's their horse. He's their bread and butter.
He sure is. Let's see what happened here on that next couple plays later back at Parker Field. Let's take a look. The Cavaliers trying to make something happen on offense. So a second down after that big run, and Mazalewski is going to try to go to the air, Coach. Oh, that was intercepted. A little bit of a low throw, and that's number 9, Mateo McGraw. That's if the stats are right, that's his 6th interception of the year, Coach. I don't know. Was Mazalewski just trying to throw on the run? No, just a nice play and coming in front of the receiver by McGraw. Looked like he was trying to get it to Nate Bohr out there past the 40-yard line. So that's an interception and could be a costly turnover. South Carroll trying to get anything on the board there in the final minute of play in the first half. Again, still 7-0.
Everybody concentrating on AJ, maybe it's the idea to throw it to another receiver.
Right. So we've already seen them try a fake punt, and we've seen some other things where South Carroll. Doing what they can to try to get AJ untracked and get him going, because as they go, as he goes, they go. So right now it's Harford Tech that's going 7-0 with about 30 seconds to go.
Right now South Carolina's going to rely on the defense. They're playing good defense. Let's just keep Hartford contained. Get into the second half. We can get back to our attack.
Yeah, because they need to really establish that ground game in order to make things happen. So like I said a minute ago, it's a little bit of a flip of halves. This was last year was. Or last week, I should say, was a first half South Carroll dominance. They did a good job holding on in the second half, and they won the game against Boonsboro. Last week, Westminster started slow against a really good Edgewood team, came back with a really good second half, played good defense, like you said, and came from behind to win. This time, both these teams are going to have to play good second halves if they want to survive and advance.
Maybe we can't tell too much being here how much the elements are really affecting this game.
It's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah, I mean, the fields look okay now, but it is cold. It's going to be a little bit wet out there on the track. We've seen a couple guys slip early in the first half. So, right now we're going to hopefully get back to South Carroll in a moment or two to see those the last couple plays, perhaps, of that first half. The Westminster game's into halftime. It's 12-7 Oakdale. Looks like everyone's bundling up, doing their best to bundle up. I'm glad we're here in the studio where it's not quite as cold and windy, but we're doing a good job in here, trying to give you some highlights and stuff like that. I mentioned the wind, and you told me, or the weather, and you told me that you'd much rather be in a snow game than a rain game. You think back to some of those games where it was just really brutal to be on the sideline for a couple hours on a Friday night.
I enjoyed it. The kids always enjoyed it. But you can also make the weather work for you at the same time. Look for ways to take advantage of the weather differences in the way you run your plays or the way you play your defense. Weather can be a positive for you at the same time.
Right, yeah. And then both of these Carroll County teams are going to have to hope that they can make it a positive in these second halves if they want to try to, survive, advance, but they first have to go out and get a lead. And right now, South Carroll looking for their first points of the game. Harford Tech up 7-0, and Oakdale 12-7 over Westminster at Ruby Field.
Yeah, no one likes bad weather. Let's
No.
face that.
No.
But let's make the best use of it as we can when we do it.
Yeah, no doubt about that. You mentioned the defense. I mean, South Carroll's got some good defenders there as well. I mentioned Nate Bohr. He's got 80 tackles this season. That's second most on South Carroll's team. Caleb Blum leads them with 85 tackles. And their big sack guys are Caleb Blum with 5 sacks and Ben Simmons with 6 sacks. We mentioned Westminster as well. We'll get back to them in a minute, but they've got a couple guys with combined the double-digit sacks as well. We are going to go back to Parker Field and see some plays here on this last Harford Tech South Carroll drive with the second half winding down. So here we go. So that was a long, it's a 3rd and 33, Coach, after a penalty and a fumble. That's a good run. Oh, a nice tackle by South Carroll. That 24 for Harford Tech had some room there. Dante Evans, and a nice tackle. At 21, Michael Pizzuto, I believe, for South Carroll. He's done a really good job on defense for them. So I think South Carroll is actually going to call a timeout there, Coach, to kind of get them to punt the ball because they want to try to make something happen here late. Get a shot late in the game. Michael Pizzuto, we just saw him make that tackle. You know, South Carroll's got A.J. Rodriguez and Michael Pizzuto on the football team, and they've already begun winter sports practice, and those guys are pretty good wrestlers. They're undefeated state champions from a year or two ago.
Make use of those wrestling tactics when you're playing, you know?
Did you like having wrestlers on the football team?
Yeah, my defensive coach was good at teaching our linemen how to use some of his wrestling moves on the line of scrimmage.
How much of that does go hand in hand? There's some similarities there, right?
There is. It's called leverage. It's called using your weight. Catching people off balance. It's I think the wrestling skills can really help on your defensive linemen and your offensive linemen the same way.
Right. And obviously these guys, plenty of guys that have been really good football players in Carroll County have been standout wrestlers as well.
Standout wrestlers.
Yeah, multi-sport athletes. How have you seen that change over the years? The way the kids specialize in sports now. I think maybe you could tell me wrong, but I think when you were coaching and teaching in Carroll County, you wanted as many multi-sport athletes as you could.
We did. I always felt that you could learn something else from the other sports that's going to help you. Even though the kid might want to be the football player, wrestling could help them, track and field can help them. If they could play other sports, that would be great. It helped them, in everything he does, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is just like you said, you don't see that as much anymore.
Not as much. There's more specialization, but I think it is kind of nice to see a lot of these guys play football, and then they run track in the winter, or they play basketball, and a lot of the kids go to baseball, and girls as well on the soccer field and the lacrosse field. A lot of lacrosse players playing soccer too. So, I just didn't know if that was something that you took pride in, having a lot of your guys, have that multi-sport athlete mentality and attitude when they were at FSK.
Especially knowing that someone was never going to go on to college. You're not going on to prowess. To be able to get as much out of a lot of various, because it makes them better at the same time as well as their teams.
Right, absolutely, yeah. So again, Harford Tech 7, South Carroll nothing late in the second quarter. And at halftime at Ruby Field in Westminster, Oakdale leads Westminster 12-7. The players coming back out soon here to start their warm-ups for the second half. The South Carroll game was a 4th and long, and I believe they were going to call a timeout to try to force a punt to make something happen. Try to make something happen anyway on offense with their playmakers.
You never know.
You never know. That's right. We've already seen we've seen a long kickoff return that didn't score, but a long kickoff return. We've seen a hook and lateral for a touchdown. We've seen a long pass play from Harford Tech. I think it is those big plays, Coach, that can make or break somebody. And I mean, right now the teams that are doing them are in the lead.
And we've seen a fumbled snap that got by a guy.
Right.
In the weather, anything can happen.
Right. Absolutely. And I think the weather has calmed down for the most part at both sites. You got a lot of games going on. We were looking earlier at a picture or two from Western Maryland, and I couldn't even see the field. There was so much snow on the field out there at Mountain Ridge. We know what happened in Buffalo for the NFL, where they moved the game already in the Browns and the Bills game with about just a little bit of 6 feet of snow, I think, in Western New York. And then you were telling me before this tonight that you had some New York ties back in your old coaching days before you got to Carroll County.
Yeah, I coached in upstate New York, and I remember in November playing a lot of football games in that time of the year. So I was used to it when I came here. No problem.
You were wondering where it all went, because up there in Albany's not quite Western New York, but I know it's up there. So harder to coach when it's all that, when you can't see the lines as well, or does it just come down to X's and O's, and if we do what we have to do, we'll win?
You do exactly. It's all execution.
Really? Even in the snow?
Even in the snow.
All right, I'll take your word for it, because it looks pretty rough out there to me, especially when it's coming down. It's fun to watch on TV, and it's fun to play in the backyard, but I think it can be pretty brutal when those big stakes are on the line like that. And I guess like we said, for these guys in the state quarterfinals, again, we mentioned the records earlier. Westminster 10-1. Their only loss was the South Carroll game we brought you earlier in the season. Really good game that was a kind of a two halves kind of a thing, and South Carroll did enough to prevail in that one. Beating Westminster that night, and then of course Westminster turns around and beats Liberty later in the season, and Liberty had gotten South Carroll their only loss during the season, so all three of those teams shared the Carroll County Athletic League Championship, the first time that had happened in over 2 decades. To have three teams like that,
exactly.
The county champions, speaks to how strong those programs have been. Not to knock into the other ones. We mentioned Man Valley had a really good season this year. Winters Mill played teams very tough this year. FSK and Century had a really close game with each other. Coach Kraus mentioned this last year when we were at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium, talking about how Carroll County, this was a good thing for Carroll County to sort of announce itself, because I think there's always been that stigma that, well, Frederick County's better, Howard County's better, the numbers meet it out. Carroll County can play football, and they can play football at a high level, and we've seen that over the last couple of years.
We've seen it exactly the last couple of years. I think it's getting better and better, especially as the youth programs get more established where they can feed into the high schools.
How important is that when you talk about the youth programs? I feel like I've heard coaches talk about it all the time, how crucial it is to get those little kids playing for the
I think it's real crucial. And I think it's also crucial for the high school coaches to get down there into those youth programs and get to know those kids, and have to get those kids get to know the varsity coaches, so you can start building that future team right then and there when they're going through that program.
Right. And the critical to that, because like you said, you can see the kids at 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and they can be running some of the plays that they're going to see at the junior varsity level and the varsity level if they're going to keep playing football a couple years later.
Right.
It is fun to see those kids sort of grow up to become these guys, the Mason Fishers, the Kyrie Walkers. They all started playing youth football somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They did.
How have you seen that grow in the, I know you have the key roots. I know you live in the Westminster area, but you have the key roots. How have you seen that youth programs grow in those parts of the county?
Well, we see the effect that the Gamber program, the Westminster program, have on Westminster mainly, but some of those kids go to Winters Mill at the same time. So they've been part of that program too, but that's been a core for Westminster over the years to have those two. In South Carroll, they got the programs down there at the same time. Winfield that are feeding into. They got 3 schools to feed into with South Carroll, Liberty, and Century.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. We got one more play to show you from that first half. It's Harford Tech and South Carroll. I believe South Carroll's going to try to make something happen here in the last play of the half. So with 5 seconds left at the 45-yard line, Coach, you're going to just try to go to the end zone here, I think.
Go for broke. Go for the bomb.
Yep. And Carter Mazzalewski's going to give it a heave.
There it is.
Intercepted by Harford Tech.
Well, I think you have to give Harford Tech a lot of credit the way they've been playing defense.
Yeah, really good defense against a team that scored some points the last few weeks. Here it is again, Coach Mazzalewski tried to get it to his guy down the sideline. Yeah, he did all he did. He had some pressure on him there from Harford Tech.
Pulling
on his arm, might have delayed, not delayed, made that throw not quite go as far as it needed to go. And then it looked like maybe they thought he was out of bounds. I heard the Harford Tech coaches from the booth wanting a flag there, but I don't think a flag was called. So we've reached halftime there. It's Harford Tech 7, South Carroll 0. The halftime's going on there. The third quarter for Westminster is about to kick off soon. Still in halftime. Oakdale leads Westminster 12-7. Harford Tech leads South Carroll 7-0. We've got the state quarterfinal games here on CMSportsNet's Friday Night Football. Again, I'm Pat Stoetzer with Bill McKenna, trying our best to give you some whip-around coverage, some red zone channel coverage, if you were, of the 2 remaining Carroll County football teams. Both games are still within, of course, still within doubt, and obviously an exciting second half coming up from both of them. Our halftime report is sponsored by Genova's To Go. Locations in Westminster, Manchester, Hampstead, Hanover, and coming soon, Eldersburg. Genova's is pizza, pasta, subs, and more.
You might say that. Okay.
Let's go ahead and take a look at some. We see the cheerleaders for South Carroll on the field here at halftime. And again, some festivities there. Trying their best to stay warm. I know that. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we had that third team playing last week, and that was Liberty High School. Again, Liberty played Williamsport in the second round of the regional playoffs. It was a really good game, Coach. It came right down to the wire. Back and forth, offensive prowess was really really good. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of those highlights right now. Williamsport played Liberty last week in the 2A, 1A West playoffs. Let's take a peek and see some of those highlights. Skill. CMSportsNet High School Sports Highlights are sponsored by Genova's To Go. Locations in Westminster, Manchester, Hampstead, Hanover, and coming soon, Eldersburg. Genova's, pizza, pasta, subs, and more.
Liberty brought their home playoff game to Marriott's Ridge High School to take on the number 3 seed Williamsport Wildcats in a 2A, 1A West Region second round playoff matchup. Liberty was looking to follow Westminster's and South Carroll's lead into the quarterfinals, while the Wildcats were a week removed from a convincing win against the Winners Mill Falcons. After forcing a Williamsport punt, Liberty starts fast on offense. Jack Pellicciati is forced to his right with pressure brought off the left side by Ian Lane, but he finds Sam Evans, and Evans takes it all the way down to the 16 to set the Lions up in the red zone. Pellicciati sneaks it in a couple plays later, and the Lions get on the board first, 7-0. The Wildcats respond on the very next possession. Corey Nelson takes a design quarterback run off the right side behind the pulling guard, and 27 yards later, the score is tied 7-0. Liberty gets the ball back, and they waste no time in reclaiming the lead. 3 plays into their second possession, Pellicciati finds a wide-open Sam Evans down the field, and Evans does the rest. 14-7 Lions. After forcing a turnover on downs, Liberty gets the ball right back, and guess who? Pellicciati steps up in the pocket and finds a diving Sam Evans all the way down to the 1. Seth Jacobs punches it in a play later, and the Lions have a commanding 21-7 lead after 1 quarter of play. Needing an answer to Liberty's fast start, the Wildcats find one in the form of a Corey Nelson deep ball to his receiver Seonta Wilmore, who rises above 2 Lions defenders for a 43-yard score. Lions lead cut down to 1 possession. Looking to make something happen on their next drive, Pellicciati spins out to his left, but is greeted by Ian Lane once again, who knocks the ball loose, and it's scooped up by Dylan Parker for a Wildcats takeaway. Both teams exchanged field goals to make it a 24-17 game in favor of Liberty with just under 2 minutes to play in the first half, but Wildcats quarterback Corey Nelson wasn't done just yet. He scrambles to his left, makes a man miss, and heaves a deep ball to senior Caden Palomar, who dives to make the catch. Just a couple plays later, Cole Rourke takes a wide receiver sweep off the right side for a 21-yard score. We are knotted up at 24 going into the half. Williamsport takes a chance to start the second half, and it pays off here when they recover their onside kick. They set up shop in Lions territory. 5 plays later, Nelson takes another design run off the right side with 2 lead blockers in front of him, who escort him in for the score. After the PAT, the Wildcats have their first lead of the evening, 31-24. With their backs against the wall for the first time tonight, Liberty responds. Pellicciati takes the snap and finds none other than Sam Evans in the back corner of the end zone for the score. However, the Wildcats block the ensuing point after, so Williamsport maintains the lead, 31-30. The ground game begins to take over for the Wildcats, and after a 39-yard run by Cole Rourke, Seonta Wilmore makes another appearance with a 42-yard catch and run for the score. An 8-point lead for the away team midway through the third. On the very next possession, Pellicciati pulls the ball from his running back and looks downfield to, you guessed it, Sam Evans, who separates from multiple Wildcats defenders for his 3rd score of the game. The Lions fail on their 2-point attempt, so the Wildcats' lead is still 2. The 4th quarter starts out with a bang. Nelson takes the snap and drops back and finds senior Jaden Bowens down the right sideline for a 75-yard score for his 5th of the day. 45-36 Williamsport with under 12 to play. After Liberty's drive stalls on the next possession, Williamsport's offense takes over and begins to wear down the opposition. Right as this game appeared to be over, Rourke takes a handoff and appears to have a path into the end zone, but he loses control of the ball as it bounces out of the back of the end zone. After further deliberation by the referees, it's Liberty's ball. With under 4 to play, Jack Pellicciati leads the Lions down the field. Jacobs punches it in on this goal line carry, and with 2:19 remaining, we have a 2-point ball game. After recovering the onside kick, Williamsport needs just 1 more yard to ice the game. On 4th down, they give it to Dylan Parker on a fullback dive, but the Lions defense stands tall and stuffs the Wildcats for a turnover on downs. After picking up a 1st down, Pellicciati is decked by Wilmore for a huge sack, which all but ends the comeback bid for the Lions. Final in Marriottsville is Williamsport 45, Liberty 43. Jack Pellicciati totals 440 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Sam Evans goes for 281 and 3 scores, but it's not enough to overcome the Wildcats and Corey Nelson's 5-touchdown day. Williamsport advances. Meanwhile, Liberty's exceptional season comes to an unfortunate end.
Want more local sports coverage? Be sure to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, just a really, really great game there between Williamsport and Liberty. The Lions came up a little bit short, 45-43, and Williamsport advanced. Let's go ahead and take a peek at the first half highlights that we just watched from the Oakdale-Westminster game and the Harford Tech-South Carroll game, state quarterfinal round, Friday Night Football, CMSportsNet. Some first half highlights, Coach, and we've been talking already during the evening about defense. The teams that are winning right now have been doing have been playing great defense.
Yeah, that's the thing that's impressive about both teams right now, the defensive play, being able to contain, for the most part, the top plays and players of the other teams. Really impressed by Harford, the way they've been playing, bottling up AJ and some of the other people in South Carroll, doing a great job.
Yep. Definitely the story of the first half in both of these games. 7-0 Harford Tech over South Carroll. It's going to be about the halftime will be ending here soon. And Oakdale 12-7 over Westminster as the third quarter there is about to begin. We mentioned those brackets earlier on. I think we're getting a chance to show you them right now. We're going to start with the Class 3A. Again, like Coach said, it's 8 teams left on both sides. And here they are, Coach, with some brackets. Class 3A playoffs. Athelton, the number 1 seed, playing the St. Charles Spartans. Westminster and Oakdale are the 4 and the 5. Damascus and Long Reach, the 3 and the 6, and River Hill playing Franklin. Franklin ended Man Valley season 2 rounds ago. And then, of course, the winners play each other on November 25th, and the winners of those games move on to the state championships December 1st through the 3rd at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium. So, like you said, Coach, Westminster, if they were to survive, if the seeds hold, they'd be playing the number 1 seed Athelton Raiders next week, a program that you had mentioned was maybe on the rise. They had been laid down in recent years.
Yeah, Wild Lake and River Hill And some of those other schools have been for years dominating.
Yep.
And Atherton was down on the lower rung, but they're coming back the last couple of years.
Yeah, no doubt. And they're the number 1 seed right now in Class 3A.
I think you said they're undefeated.
I think they are, yeah, yes, sir. Mm-hmm. So then that's the 3A side where Westminster is involved. The 2A, 1A side is where South Carroll is. Let's take a look at that next bracket, and that's the 2A, 1A bracket where you've got the Dunbar Poets, the reigning state champs, are the number 1 seed there, taking on the Golden Elks of Elkton. Last check there, Dunbar was winning that game 48-0 at halftime, so you can put Dunbar into the next round. They're going to be playing the Calvert Cavaliers, or the winner of the Calvert Cavaliers Largo Lions. That's the 4-5. Williamsport, who we saw beat Liberty, they play Patuxent in the 3-6 matchup in the game here. South Carroll and Harford Tech is the 2-7. So if South Carroll were to prevail here, they'd get the winner of Patuxent, Williamsport. South Carroll played Williamsport last year in the playoffs and defeated them on their march to the 2A, 1A state final. All roads lead through Dunbar, I think, though, Coach, on the 2A, 1A
It's almost
side.
unfair that Dunbar should be part of it.
They're so good and so strong.
So much talent.
A lot of talent. South Carolina had a really, really awesome year last year and got to the final and were just outmatched against a really good Dunbar team. Yeah, they held their own a little bit here and there and moved the ball around, but it's Dunbar's to lose, I would say. If somebody can jump up and knock them off, that'd be a huge upset.
I saw them last year, Dunbar played. I believe they're probably were the best team in the state, really.
The best one in 2A, 1A.
Even all the classifications.
You think all the classifications? Well, they really are strong.
Yeah,
they really are strong. So I believe we got some second half highlights underway. I believe Oakdale and Westminster. We have the kickoff here for you at Ruby Field. Let's see what's happening there between the Owls and the Bears. So Westminster's going to kick off here to start the third quarter. Oakdale will receive it. And defense needs to come up strong here, Coach, if the Owls want to try to stay in this ball game.
And they really did a good job for the most part the first half. So just see if they can maintain it in the second half.
So that's a fairly good field position up near the 30-yard line. And it's going to be Oakdale's ball to start the third quarter on this drive here. And, again, Westminster's defense needs to make a stand right here, I think, if they want to try to keep this game in reach. Let's take a look and see. Oakdale's got the ball, and they did move it down into scoring range here. Looks like a 1st and 10 with about 7 or so to go in the third quarter. And Austin's going to throw it up over the top. It looks like a touchdown for Oakdale, Coach.
I was saying early on, Pat, having watched the preseason scrimmage, where they were able to take advantage of Westminster was through the air.
Right.
He can.
Left-handed quarterback, too. A little run play option. That's the tight end, number 8, Brian Vickers.
He's a pretty big boy.
He sure is.
He's
going up
guy.
for the touchdown.
Yeah.
That's a big play early in this third quarter here, too, because Westminster, if they want to try to keep pace, they can't give up too many more points in order to try to get back in the game.
Yeah, they got some big receivers.
They do.
Yeah.
And that air game, like you mentioned, was critical to that scrimmage. Oakdale kicked the extra point, so they now have a 19-7 lead over Westminster with 5 and 6 or so minutes left in that third quarter. I think Harford Tech and South Carroll will be kicking off here momentarily to start their third quarter in that 2A, 1A game.
So how are the Owls going to come back here? That's going to be the case.
I'm going to ask you that. What are you talking to your guys on the sideline then if you're down by 2 scores now?
We're only down by 2 scores.
Right.
We got almost a whole second half to play. So let's maintain our game. Let's move down the ball. We need to get back in the game with a score.
In order to get that comeback going, though, what needs to go well for the Owls on these first few possessions of the second half?
Well, we saw what worked the first half with Kyrie. And I think they got to find a way to get Kyrie loose, number 1. Number 2 is Mason. I haven't seen too much use of Mason so far.
Fisher's been, Mason Fisher's probably been the subject of some defensive attention from Oakdale. So, like you said, those are your playmakers. And you've got Zaransky and Clayton Dorsey and other guys on that offense. But
for the most part, it comes down to Kyrie and to Fisher.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go back now to Ruby Field. I think the Owls had the ball in the next possession and then were deep in their own end again. So field position really starting to be a factor here in this game. Let's take a look. So 4th and long, Coach. It looks like they're punting out of their own end zone. Not a place you want to be down 2 scores with 5.5 to go.
Ooh, that wasn't a good shot. A punt came close to being blocked.
And a short punt, too. And a 25-yard line. So Westminster up against it now. Oakdale's going to have the ball at the 25-yard line. if they were able to punch in another score, it would be a really uphill battle for
This
Westminster.
is where your defense has really got to step up right now.
And a turnover. A turnover here would be pretty critical. There's been one so far in the Oakdale game. The Oakdale Bears were able to get that turnover. Again, a lot of game left. Westminster only down 19-7, but they got to start making things happen.
Got to make a big play here.
Yeah.
Who's going to step up on the defense right now?
And it's got to be on defense. I think South Carroll and Harford Tech are going to kick off here the third quarter, Coach. Let's go ahead and take a look at the opening kickoff of the second half at Parker Field. Looks like South Carroll's going to get the ball to start the half. Short kick.
Short kick.
Yeah. South Carroll fields it at about the 25. And a nice tackle there by Harford Tech. But still, a good field position for South Carroll at the 35-yard line.
All right, let's see what they do here.
That was number 9, Jackson Strelzik. We'll get back to them in a second. South Carroll's going to have that possession. 7-0 in this game, Coach, so it's obviously not out of reach. One-score game. If you're South Carroll and on this drive, I know obviously AJ is the bread and butter. Is there any other guys or any other things you want to do? You mentioned the bag of tricks, not necessarily tricks. Are there wrinkles you want to put on offense to sort of confuse Harford Tech? Because they did such a good job in the first half on defense.
Well, I'm sure every coach has something in the back of their pockets that they need to pull out, that they need to go to. And Mike will just have to determine when is the time he's going to go to that particular play.
Right.
Where is he going to pull that out?
Right.
Can he maintain what he's doing now? Does he have to do something special that maybe Harford's not prepared for?
Well, it might have to be sooner than later because time is going to start being of the essence. Yeah. Let's get back out there to Parker Field and see what South Carroll did on their first drive of this second half, at least early on here in the drive. So we got a 2nd and 9, Coach. Looks like at about the 36-yard line or so. And this is not A.J. Rodriguez, but this is a long run for South Carroll. That's into Harford Tech territory, so just like that, perhaps a little flip of the field.
Yeah. That was a nice change of pace.
It sure was.
On that run.
We're going to see it again here, yeah. Did a good job, the running back, the ability to make something happen right there at the line, because that's a tackle for loss otherwise.
Wow.
That was big number 15, Nathan Geller. We mentioned him.
Well, that's what they need. They need that other guy that can pick it up.
Might be Nate Bohr. Again, we mentioned his name a little bit already. He's a senior running back, 6 foot, 188 pounds for South Carroll. A nice run, a nice play that South Carroll needed to try to sort of get things going here and get back in the game. Again, only 7-0 they trail. So
exactly.
Yeah.
They're in the ball game.
They're definitely in the ball game. But both games, both teams still in the ball game. But again, like you said, those big plays, you've got to start making them, and you've got to start limiting them on defense if you're the teams that are trailing. Let's go back to South Carroll. I think the Cavaliers are facing a 3rd and long now. They've moved the ball into Harford territory, but they're faced with a 3rd and long. 3rd and 14, it looks like, there at the 44-yard line. And Mazalewski's back to throw. He can run with it. Oh, the ball comes out. Fumbled out of bounds. So South Carroll will keep it, but that's going to be a 4th down play. Let's look at this again. Mazalewski had some room to run, Coach. Someone came up and make a nice tackle there for Harford Tech to strip the ball out. Ooh. 25, Jamal Pearl Jr., one of their top tacklers. So a nice play from Harford Tech. Fortunate for South Carroll that it went out of bounds, not to turn it over right there near midfield. South Carroll did punt it away, so Harford Tech is taking that punt. A big play from Harford Tech's defense. You've been impressed with their defense so far.
I have. They've done an excellent job of containing the threats that South Carroll has. And that's been the difference in the game so far, really.
Absolutely, yeah. But again, like we've been saying, only 7-0. Any big play is going to be could be critical to either team's chance of success. I think we're going to head back to Ruby Field and check in on Oakdale and Westminster. The Owls trying to hang on after Oakdale gets good field position on that punt. So here they are already getting ready to score, or at least have a chance to score again. They have a score here on 2nd and 2. That's a quarterback keeper. And that's number 2, Austin Evan. What's the signal? They call it?
Looks like it's a little bit short.
I think they might have got in. Let's see. Watching it again.
See the guard pulled in front of him on that.
Yeah, he tried to cut back. Yeah. I think he got in. He only had to get 2 yards. That was a touchdown, Coach. That's official. So 26-7 now, Oakdale over Westminster, and the game is slipping away from the Owls here with just over 2 minutes left in that third quarter. What's the message if you're trying to stem this tide here, Coach? I know it's obviously the kids on the field got to make some plays. You got to keep their heads up, right? You got to try to keep these guys in the game.
Yeah. Right now, the pressure's on the Owl defense to be able to contain Oakdale, and they're not doing it so far. So I guess Chris has got to pull something out of his bag of tricks. He's going to need something big to really get them back in the game.
Yeah, or else, again, we mentioned time, and time's on Oakdale's side.
Yeah.
Westminster can score. They can score quick, but they're going to have to do it because time's running out.
And it's been Oakdale's defense that's come on to really stem the Owls.
It has been the defense on both sides. Oakdale 2-0 all time against Westminster. Westminster's never beaten them. They haven't played in several years. I think it was 2015 and 2016 that Oakdale and Westminster last played, and Oakdale won both those games. This is the biggest one they've ever played, though, between the two schools. Not that far apart, Carroll County and Frederick County, but they don't play all that often during the regular season. So 26-7 Oakdale over Westminster, 7-0 Harford Tech over South Carroll. Coach, we're going to take a quick break, so stick with me right here, and we'll be right back in a few minutes here on CMSportsNet's Friday Night Football State Quarterfinal Edition.
Hey there, I'm Pat Stoetzer.
And I'm Michael Duffy, inviting you to join us for The Score and more.
It's our new podcast, and each week we'll talk about high school sports in Carroll County. We'll share information about upcoming games, highlight coaches and athletes, and much more.
We'll even try to have a little fun along the way. Don't miss the Score and More podcast, presented by CMSportsNet.
The Score and More Sports podcast is available online at carrollmediacenter.org and on a variety of podcast channels.
What does it take to cover local high school sports? It takes staff and volunteers, equipment, training, and community support from people like you. You can help by making a donation to the Community Media Center today. Your gift is an investment in our community, our schools, and most of all, our student athletes. We want to expand our coverage to include both boys and girls sports, but we can't do it without your help. So please, make your donation today and help us bring high school sports to every screen in Carroll County.
Skill, dedication, leadership. Just a few of the things it takes to be named CM Sportsnet's Athlete of the Week. Hi, I'm Pat Stoetzer. Each week, CM Sportsnet recognizes an outstanding player for their contribution to their sport. Meet some of Carroll County student athletes and join us as we celebrate their performance, impact, and outstanding accomplishments. The CM Sportsnet Athlete of the Week is sponsored by Genova's To Go, locations in Westminster, Manchester, Hampstead, Hanover, and coming soon, Eldersburg. Genova's To Go, pizza, pasta, subs, and more.
That's picked off by touchdown.
Hi, I'm Mike Preston of the Community Media Center. We're going to give you front row seats of highlights of Carroll County football. And we're going to take you behind the scenes. We're going to give you a front row seat. We're going to take you places that no one else can take you.
But we need your help. We're looking for volunteers to help us cover the game. If you have a passion for the sport and are willing to learn, we want to hear from you.
You can bring high school football to every screen in Carroll County. Some of the best plays in football happen right here, and you can be a part of it.
Contact us today and find out how you can help us capture some of the best plays in the game.
Are you ready to join the team?
Welcome back. Bill McKenna, Pat Stoetzer here with you. CM Sportsnet Friday Night Football State Quarterfinal Edition. We are into the second half of both games now. Harford Tech leads South Carroll 7-0 in the third quarter. Oakdale's up on Westminster 26-7 in the third quarter. Time's running out there. I think we're going to go right to Ruby Field and take a look at Westminster just trying to get back in this game. Kyrese Walker and the offense trying to lead the offense, I should say, down the field and get some points on the board. Let's see what's going on there at Ruby Field. So you mentioned it, Coach, how they've got to score quickly. So here we see with 2 minutes to go, 1st and 10, and Kyries is going to look to throw it, and he's got Mason Fisher, and here's your playmakers right here.
Exactly.
A lot of room to run, too, down the sideline. So a big play there to get into Oakdale territory.
So at the Oakdale 40.
Yeah, down to the 40. And then so, again, those playmakers just have to start making some plays. I know it sounds simple, but it's not that simple when you're playing a team like Oakdale. So that was a big pass play there that they had to sort of get something like that going. You know, they're going to be about a quarter left, and Oakdale's going to have to, Westminster's going to have to really start stopping Oakdale and getting some points on the board. Before we go back to there, let's go to Parker Field and see Harford Tech South Carroll. The Cobras have the ball, looking to make something big happen. So this is Harford Tech now deep in their own end with 8.5 minutes to go on a 1st down. And here's a run again around the far side, and that's Dante Evans, and he gets some open field. Stays in bounds, Coach.
Yeah.
One man to beat. Oh, a shoestring tackle from South Carolina, or else he would have scored.
So we're inside the 10-yard line, I think.
If they're not, they're getting close. That was a huge run for number 24, Dante Evans, running back, linebacker. Let's watch it again, Coach. They've been doing this. They've been executing this run really well tonight on both sides of the sidelines.
There's that speed going to the outside.
To seal that edge around that like they did.
Yeah. Hand tackle, though, too.
Right. That's the one right there that made a miss and stayed in bounds at midfield, and I thought he was going to go.
It's good effort from the South Carroll.
Yeah, good hustle from South Carroll to right there get a shoe. That's all you could really do, or else that was a touchdown. So they did score, but they are into territory there for sure, Coach. And Harford Tech, a 2-score lead would probably feel pretty big for the Cobras. Let's go back to Ruby Field now and see what Westminster's doing, trying to get back in that game. Oakdale 26-7, but the Owls were on the move. So let's take a look. So here you go, Coach. Again, 26-7 with the time running out in this 3rd quarter. A 2nd and 10 from about the 40-yard line.
Yeah, we need another big play here.
That's what he needs, and Kyrie's going to maybe try to run for it.
Yeah, he is.
Wow, staying in bounds, picking up about 10 yards on a 2nd and 10 that moved its sticks. Again, he's been doing it with his legs and his arm all year and used that natural ability. Now's the time, absolutely.
Now's the time.
Absolutely. We're going to watch that one again. Just if nothing's there to throw it, don't make the mistake, right? Get in there and just make something happen. This is the same play. So he could have tried to just heave one down the field, but that's just awareness, right, Coach? To get away from that tackle right there, number 44 from Oakdale.
You don't teach that either, Pat. That's instinct.
That's Josh Gull, a senior for Oakdale, and right, exactly. That was what I was trying to ask you. That's instinct from Kyrie's Walker and his natural ability to make something happen like that. So South Carroll's defense trying to keep Harford Tech out of the end zone after that long run by Dante Evans. Let's go to Parker Field and see if South Carroll's defense is up for the challenge to keep this a 1-score game. Let's take a look.
What do we got?
So it looks like a 3rd and 7, like you mentioned, from right around the 10-yard line. Oh, and another bad snap. So the quarterback has to fall on it, Thomas Smith, but that's going to be a big loss on 3rd and 7.
That's the 2nd time.
That's the 2nd time, yeah. Not as bad as the first one. The first one sailed over his head. That one only, lucky the quarterback got his hand on it. So that's going to push the ball back to the 20-yard line and probably bring up a long 4th down play for Harford Tech. We'll get back out there in a minute or two. But those mistakes, right, again, and it's only a 1-score game, but those mistakes could probably be pretty big. I think it's 4th down, and Harford Tech is going to try for a field goal here. 4th and 16. Ball is low. Did not go.
Wide. I don't think he did.
No good.
All right.
So it got into the end zone, which would go past line of scrimmage, means it's a touchback. So South Carroll will start at the 20-yard line.
All right.
It's a big stop.
That's a big stop.
If you're Mike Krause and you see them miss that touchdown or that field goal, is that the thing
that
that energizes?
Is that the pickup? That could be the thing. That could be a lift up to the offense. Hey, we've held them. Now let's move down the field and score.
Right.
Defense did their part. So let's see if on the offense we can do our part.
Especially after that big long run that Evans had for.
And that was a great second effort by that one player on South
Carroll defender. Yep. Let's go back to Westminster, Ruby Field. The Owls trying to stay in this game with Oakdale and Kyrie's Walker and company on offense, trying to make something happen. So 2nd and 11 early in the 4th quarter, Coach. But they are in scoring territory for sure.
Mason.
No, Kyrie's keeper.
Kyrie, there he is.
That's
All
a
right,
touchdown.
that's
Okay,
what-
so
that's what they
that's
need
what
right
Westminster
there.
needed. A rushing touchdown for Kyrese Walker, their junior quarterback. Here it is again. It was a good run play option there, a little bit of a fake to Fisher. Made the defense, if the defense stands still just for 1 second, Kyrese already has the advantage with the way he can run the ball.
You got to go to what got you here.
That's right, that's right. So the extra point was good, and that makes the score Oakdale 26, Westminster 14.
All right.
So back in
Two
it.
scores. We're
Back in it, and about 10
Now
minutes to go.
defense.
Right,
Gotta
defense
play
has to
some
make a play, and
defense.
I'm going to say a turnover is going to be needed here soon if the Owls want to try to stay in this ball game. So yeah, again, 26-14 Oakdale over Westminster. It's just 7-0 in the Harford Tech South Carroll game after the Cavaliers kept the Cobras from kicking that field goal, or the Cobras missed the field goal. So now we've got a one-score game in Winfield at Parker Field and a two-score game between Oakdale and Westminster at Ruby Field.
Well, just like Westminster went to its aces, so to speak, with Kyrie and Fisher, South Carroll need to go to, let's see what Rodriguez can do.
Yeah, if he can do something for South Carroll, exactly, because it's time is running out, as we've been saying here in the second half. And if their first half possessions were that big, these are even doubly as big. So we'll get over there to the highlights in a second between those two teams. Of course, we got Harford Tech at South Carroll at 7-0 Cobras over the Cavs, and Oakdale leads Westminster 26-14 in that third quarter. Let's go over to South Carroll then and see the Cavaliers on offense after that failed field goal. I believe it's still deep in South Carroll's zone. Now let's take a look. So it picks it up there with 4:48 to go, 3rd and 15 for the Cavaliers, and they just haven't been able to get their offense moving here. Carter's going to try to throw a deep pass, incomplete. Looks like both guys. Oh, we got a flag though. A flag comes out there.
There could be a break.
That could have been the break they needed. Looked like the receivers kind of slipped and fell on each other. Not quite sure. We're going to get a chance to see that one again. But anyway, that's a break that you might need up near midfield. Well, it's only a 15-yard penalty in high school, but still a penalty nonetheless. We'll see what happens there between the two teams. We'll see what happens between those two teams. But it looked like the flag was thrown, and maybe they might have waved it off. But anyway, my point was that the offense for South Carroll just hasn't been able to get really going, and you're giving a lot of credit to Harford Tech's defense.
Definitely.
Yeah. Not that there was a low-scoring game last year, 14-13 between these two teams, and it was a tale of whose defense was going to outlast the other one. It was South Carroll's in the final few minutes of the game. It's going to be one of those games again, being only 7-0 right now.
Yeah.
And who's going to flinch, right? Who's going to make a mistake on offense or defense?
Who's going to rise up?
Who's going to rise up? There
Who's
you go.
gonna
Even
rise
better
up?
than who's going to flinch. Let's go back to Ruby Field and see the Oakdale-Westminster game. 26-14 Bears with about 9 minutes to go in that fourth quarter. So 2nd and 10, coach. Looks like Oakdale's got the ball. And a pass over the middle completed and picking up extra yards. A nice throw by Evan Austin, the junior, the lefty, the 6'1", 175-pound quarterback who throws a little lefty ball, and he completed that pass to number 3, Hunter Thompson. So two threw it, 3 caught it. Yeah, 2 Evan Austin, the quarterback, and 3 Hunter Thompson, both juniors there. So you mentioned in the pregames, Coach, about the size they had and the depth. Looks like they had a lot of depth there too. Pretty nice mix when you've got underclassmen and also guys that can muscle up.
I think they're pretty big receivers too, aren't they?
Yeah, 6'3", 195 for Hunter Thompson.
That makes
Pretty
a
big.
difference.
That makes a difference. Let's go back out to Ruby Field and see a couple plays. The next play, I should say. So here we go again. 1st and 10, Coach, with 8:20 to go in the third quarter. And here's a run by Austin right up the gut. That is a touchdown. He did this last week to Frederick and helped Oakdale win. Great play call from Oakdale, and just like that, back to a 3-score lead now for Oakdale. Here's that play again, Coach. What a great play design by Oakdale. Huge hole for Austin to run through.
Ooh, there's some great blocking there. I'll tell you, they double teamed in the middle, and the guard pulled and took out another guy and opened up that hole.
And the hole was big enough that I could have gone through it, I think, and got a couple yards. But long touchdown run from Austin. 33-14 now, Oakdale over Westminster, and with 8 minutes to go, the Owls are in desperation mode.
Now you pull out all stuff, whatever you can do.
Right.
You gotta just let it rip.
And you got to tell your guys, you have to convince your guys, hey, There's still some time. I know everyone that knows there's only 8 minutes to go, but you got to be convincing your guys that we can do this. We can make a couple plays happen.
Yeah, we can score. That's going to be the big thing. Score, and then you got to be able to stop them.
Right. So here's a final for you. Number 8 St. Charles 22. Number 1 Athelton 6. So just like that, Athelton, the 1 seed of the 3A, out. So shaking up the brackets. That would mean that if Westminster were able to come back and win this game, they'd have a home game next week. Now, it doesn't look like that's going to happen right now with only 8 minutes to go and down by a lot, but stranger things have happened, and we'll see what happens in the final 8 minutes there. Yeah. Meanwhile, you've got still a 7-0 game between Harford Tech and South Carroll late in the third quarter. Surprised a little bit at that number 8 seed beating a 1. I'm not really familiar with St. Charles that much, but I know Athelton.
I'm not even familiar with St. Charles, but with Athelton being undefeated, you would think that, on paper,
but they don't play the games on paper. Yeah, you're right. That's right. That's right. Let's go ahead and see that kickoff between Oakdale and Westminster after the Bears scored their most recent touchdown. So here we go. Here we go between the Bears and the Owls. They have to make something happen right away, Coach. And a return would be good here of decent measure, but he recovered it though, but that's not what you wanted if you're Westminster. Again, I think you're right. You mentioned this a minute or two ago. The footing late in this game. I mean, it's not snowing, but it is. It's some moisture out there.
You mark the field up enough with your feet that you can open up some spots where it's loose footing, loose traction on the field.
Right. But just the fact that it could be some slippery conditions because of that moisture, because of some of that snow.
And we talked about before. High school kids aren't like the college and pros where you can change your cleats and have special cleats in the
That's right.
You got to play with what you have, so they got to get used to it.
Yep. And they're finding out right now it's not the easiest thing to do. Let's go back to South Carroll and Harford Tech, where it's 7-0 Harford Tech, and South Carroll's trying to make something happen on offense. Cavaliers again, a 3rd and 11.
And it's still the third quarter.
It is, yeah. They started a little bit late. They've been 3rd down forever tonight. Mazalewski just trying to get rid of it. Pressure from Harford Tech's defense. You nailed it on the head, Coach, right away. Their defense has really risen up to the challenge tonight. A big play from Harford Tech to force them on a 4th down punt. I mean, Harford Tech's no dummies. They knew they had to contain A.J. Rodriguez if they wanted to have any success in this game. They've done that. It's whether South Carroll can counterpunch with Mazalewski, Jackson Strelzik, Drake Hebron, their receivers, Nate Bohr, the running back. Someone's got to make a play or else Harford Tech's going to advance. How do you feel that South Carroll can say, look, we know AJ's a superstar. They're controlling him. Who else is going to rise up and step up and make a play?
Who is that guy that can step up and make the big plays that they can go to?
They were hoping it was Carter Mazalewski, their quarterback, and he's doing his best, but Harford Tech's obviously a very, very tough customer. 7-0 Harford Tech late in the third quarter, 33-14 Oakdale in the fourth quarter. I don't know, about midway through the fourth quarter there. So right now, Carroll needs some magic to start happening if they want to have a team advance to the state semifinals. Otherwise, it's going to be the end of the line here for Carroll County football in the Elite Eight round of this playoff games. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break, Coach. We're going to take some promo time here. And stick with us, though. We're going to finish out this second half with everybody. Again, 7-0 South Carroll, 7-0 Harford Tech, late in the third quarter against South Carroll. 33-14, Oakdale leads Westminster in the fourth quarter. Pat Stoetzer, Bill McKenna, stick with us. We'll be right back on CMSportsNet Friday Night Football State Quarterfinals Edition.
Yeah, Westminster.
There, I'm Pat Stoetzer.
And I'm Michael Duffy. inviting you to join us for the score and more.
It's our new podcast, and each week we'll talk about high school sports in Carroll County. We'll share information about upcoming games, highlight coaches and athletes, and much more.
We'll even try to have a little fun along the way. Don't miss the Score and More podcast presented by CMSportsNet.
The Score and More Sports Podcast is available online at carrollmediacenter.org and on a variety of podcast channels.
What does it take to cover local high school sports? It takes staff and volunteers, equipment, training, and community support from people like you. You can help by making a donation to the Community Media Center today. Your gift is an investment in our community, our schools, and most of all, our student athletes. We want to expand our coverage to include both boys and girls sports, but we can't do it without your help. So please, make your donation today and help us bring high school sports to every screen in Carroll County.
That's picked off by touchdown.
Hi, I'm Mike Preston of the Community Media Center. We're going to give you front row seats of highlights of Carroll County football. And we're going to take you behind the scenes. We're going to give you a front row seat. We're going to take you places that no one else can take you.
But we need your help. We're looking for volunteers to help us cover the game. If you have a passion for the sport and are willing to learn, we want to hear from you.
You can bring high school football to every screen in Carroll County. Some of the best plays in football happen right here, and you can be a part of it.
Contact us today and find out how you can help us capture some of the best plays in the game.
Are you ready to join the team?
Skill, dedication, leadership. Just a few of the things it takes to be named CM Sportsnet's Athlete of the Week. Hi, I'm Pat Stoetzer. Each week, CM Sportsnet recognizes an outstanding player for their contribution to their sport. Meet some of Carroll County student athletes and join us as we celebrate their performance, impact, and outstanding accomplishments. The CM Sportsnet Athlete of the Week is sponsored by Genova's To Go, locations in Westminster, Manchester, Hampstead, Hanover, and coming soon, Eldersburg. Genova's To Go, pizza, pasta, subs, and more. Welcome back. CM Sportsnet Friday Night Football State Quarterfinals Edition. We are getting down to the magic hour here late in the fourth quarter of one game and starting the fourth quarter in another. I'm Pat Stoetzer. With me is Bill McKenna, and doing our best to sort of react and give you some highlights from these games. Harford Tech leads South Carroll in the 2A, 1A state quarterfinal 7-0. That game's into the fourth quarter. Oakdale leads Westminster Coach 33-14 in the middle of the fourth quarter. I think we're going to go out to Westminster here for some quick action to see how the Owls and Bears are doing as this game winds down now late in the fourth quarter. All right, here's Westminster Coach just trying to, like you said, just really trying to make something happen. 6.5 minutes to go. Kyrie's on a 3rd and 10. Incomplete. Incomplete on 3rd and 10. Now they're going to line up to punt here, Coach. 3rd and 10, 4th and 10, 6.5 to go. What are you doing there when you're down by that many scores?
Well, truthfully, I put something out of my hat called a fake punt of some kind.
Yeah. And
why not?
Yeah, that's what I mean. At this point, it's
why not?
Or just go for it on 4th down. It's 4th and 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be lined up in a punt formation. Just run out of regular formation.
Right.
Try to get to Kyrie or Fisher.
Right.
But
they
10
punted.
yards, they've done it before.
Yeah. Well, they punted. They decided to punt, but just surprised a little bit there. But anyway, there's still some game left in there. It's obviously a lot of game left at South Carroll Harford Tech. Let's go to Parker Field, where Harford Tech and South Carroll in a 7-0 game. The Cobras are on top. 3rd and 2 coming up here, Coach.
Ooh, for Harford?
Right up here looks like Harford Tech, yep.
Yeah.
So they're near midfield. It's 3rd and 2. Oh, and a nice stop by South Carroll's D.
Okay, that was big.
That was big.
That was big.
Caden Petrucci, number 3 for South Carroll, was the one that came up and made that play, I believe. And so Harford Tech, I believe, punted there. They did, and South Carroll got the ball back, Coach. So pretty good play there for South Carroll's defense. They had to have it. They're definitely in it with 11 and a half or so to go. But their offense just got to get something going. And like you said, you mentioned about this other game, it takes one play.
One play. That's
if
all
A.J. Rodriguez isn't the guy, who's it going to be? They got plenty of other guys that can make some plays.
I think that's Coach saying on the side. Who's going to step up? Who's the one that's right now going to make the game for us?
Right, and it still might be Rodriguez because, I mean, again, he's got 1,400-some yards on offense or rushing the ball. So we're going to look for something here special in the final 10 minutes or so if South Carolina wants to try to advance. It's getting late in the game for Oakdale and Westminster, 33-14.
under 5 minutes to go, I believe, there in that game at Ruby Field. So Al's season looks like it might be coming to an end. A great season, 10 wins, 10-2 if they do wind up losing this game. I know that's not what the Owls want to hear right now. They want to try to win this game still, but 10 wins in any season is nothing to hang your head about.
We're seeing a very impressive performance tonight from Oakdale, offensively and especially on defensively, in the way they've contained the Owls for the most part. It's been big.
Yeah. We're going back to Ruby Field, I believe, to see what's going on there. I'm sorry, excuse me. We're going to Parker Field for Harford Tech South Carroll in a second down situation that the Cavaliers had the ball. So again, 10 minutes or so to go. A 2nd and 3 up by about the 25-yard line.
Yes, I think that's
Nice run by Nate Bohr, I believe, for a big first down up past the 40-yard line.
Maybe he's the one that's going to step up.
Well, he's made some plays. If that is him, it's a little tough to see, but I think that's him. Let's see, 28. That was 28. That is Jackson Shikor. So forgive me, I thought that was Nate Bohr. 26 and 28 look a little tough when you've got gold jerseys and white numbers. But hey, it's anybody here that you need to figure this out to try to get some offense on the board. Let's head back to Ruby Field now, where Oakdale's got the ball trying to put this one away. Westminster is definitely in desperation mode here, and let's see what happens. 4 minutes to go on a 3rd and long for Oakdale. Oh, man, there's number 2 again, Evan Austin. That's a first down. That might be a backbreaker with 4 minutes to go.
Right.
Huge play from Austin. That's the story of the game. He's made a lot of big plays for them with his arm and with his legs. Pretty impressed with Oakdale, the way they were able to come in here on the road. They had just beaten Frederick last week, which was an undefeated team that had beaten them during the season. Come here on the road, Ruby Field, not the easiest place to play. Westminster's riding high, scoring all kind of points. They've holding 2 touchdowns tonight, and it looks like they're going to get a win. You're pretty impressed, Coach. I'm
very impressed with their defense. And they made some big plays offensively here and there, but like we said before, defense wins championships.
Yep.
And I just think tonight they had a little better defense.
Let's go back to Parker Field, where South Carroll's got a 3rd and 5 coming up here, just trying to move the sticks and get into scoring range. So here it is up here, Coach, 3rd and 5 with about 8 minutes or so to go. Oh, great play from Harford Tech. Big 68, Joseph Canner. That's going to leave South Carroll in a 4th down situation. He shed that block very well, Coach.
Yeah.
68, one of their big boys up front, Joseph Canner. So that's going to put South Carroll into a 4th down, and I'm going to guess at this point.
I think they'll still punt.
You do? Well, we'll find out here. I guess you're right. Still 7 minutes to go. A lot of time left.
Pretty sure they're going to probably punt.
And if they're near in the midfield, it's better to do that, play a game of field position. So.
Yeah. Oh, plus they have a punt.
Probably expecting a punt there. You're right. So again, a lot of time left in that game still. 7 minutes and change. South Carroll's been playing good defense. The one touchdown, I believe, early in the game has been all the scoring that Harford Tech has been able to muster, and South Carroll still looking for their first points of the night. We got Oakdale 33-14 with a minute or so to go in that game, so that's going to be a win for Oakdale. Like I said, Westminster's going to finish at 10-2. I know they're going to be upset, but when they do get to post game, what's Coach Basler going to try to tell his guys to I won't say rally the troops. What do you think, Coach? He's going to be telling them about what they did this year, what they accomplished as one of the county champion teams.
I think one of the important things is hold your head up. There's nothing to be ashamed of. You lost to a good football team. You had a great season. Let's think about what we have done, our accomplishments. And go out there with a little bit of pride, congratulate the other team. They played a great game.
Right.
But you played a good game, too.
Right. Let's get back to Parker Field. I think we're going to watch that punt that South Carroll did punt there. So Coach was right. It was a 4th and long, and let's see the South Carroll punt against Harford Tech.
Okay, and now the pressure's on our defense.
That's right.
What can the defense do?
Let's take a look at the punt and see how they handled it. So Maslewski, I believe, does the punting duties for them, and not the best punt there for South Carroll. Looked like maybe up near the 43, so not the best punt there. You probably wanted to play a little bit better field position there, but South Carroll's defense has been up to the challenge pretty much all night, so they definitely want to get the ball back and see what they can do here.
It'd be nice to have a break like a fumble.
Yeah, I think that earlier that break we thought was a flag was not. So again, they didn't get that break that they thought they were going to get too. So South Carroll's defense has been again. I mentioned them earlier. They had Ben Simmons with 6 sacks, Caleb Blum with 5 sacks, Gennaro Marchani had 5 sacks. So a lot of guys with some sacks and tackles, and their leading tacklers, Caleb Blum and Nate Bohr, both over 80. And Pizzuto has 70-plus tackles. They've got guys on defense that can make plays.
They can make the play.
Yeah. Let's get back to Ruby Field with Oakdale and Westminster trying to finish out that game. About a minute or so to go. I think it's going to be a punt, Coach. Let's take a look. Okay. Yeah, 4th and 4. Oakdale's not going to do anything silly, I wouldn't think, with a big lead.
No.
Yeah, it looks like a punt by Oakdale. Oh.
Ooh.
Oh, kept it out of the end zone. Did they keep it out of the end zone? They did.
They may have.
Wow, inside the 5-yard line. So that's the story of the game right there. That's a microcosm of the whole game right there. So Westminster's going to try to make anything they can happen with about 63 seconds left inside their own 5-yard line. Let's get back out to Parker Field, Coach. South Carroll and Harford Tech. And again, a one-score game is going to come down to the last couple possessions. I think Harford Tech's got the ball. Let's see what South Carroll can make it stop. So 3rd and long here. Just going to pitch it to Dante Evans. Oh, South Carroll right there to make a stop. So there's your stop.
There we are.
The defense stands tall.
They've still got 6 minutes to play.
Oh, 6 minutes to go. You're going to tell me that South Carroll's going to get the ball back there on a punt. I'd say that the defense did a pretty good job.
They did what they needed to do.
Now, if you're Harford Tech with a 1-possession lead late in this playoff game, I know AJ is the number 1 focus. But how do you focus on hand while also making sure you don't get burned by one of the guys you maybe haven't been paying attention to most of the night? What's that challenge like?
You know, I don't think they have to change too much. They play aggressive defensive way they've been playing, not make changes.
Right.
Keep the pressure on South Carroll the way they have been.
And if you're South Carroll's offense, with just maybe 1 or 2 more possessions, what do you want to try to do in that scenario to, well, first get points on the board and second to just get anything going if you're the Cavaliers?
Let's take a look at what our best play opportunities might be.
Yeah.
Right now, they're probably going to be looking for some kind of a passing play that can open it up, to open up AJ eventually for the running. But I think their passing game right now, especially short passing game, it needs to be effective to open it up, the running game.
Let's take a look and see how the Cavaliers handled that punt return. I think there was a punt there by Harford Tech. So with 5 or 6 minutes to go, let's see if South Carroll can make something happen on this punt return, Coach.
Yeah, they're still in good position.
Here comes the punt here. 5:51 to go. 4th and 11. And a nice punt by Harford Tech. And here comes Jackson Strelzik, number 9 for the Cavaliers, up near almost the 45-yard line. So with 5.5 to go, South Carroll's in good field position there. So that's what you needed. You needed a big play by somebody other than A.J. Rodriguez, and you just got it from Jackson Strelzik. Let's get back out to Ruby Field, where time's running out, and Westminster is in desperation mode, down by multiple scores to Oakdale. Here you go, Coach. 1:03 to go.
1:03.
Deep in their own end here. They've been here all night, deep in their own end. Here's Kyrese. Going to try to make something happen. Threw it over the middle. It looks like it's intercepted by Oakdale. And that will, for all intents and purposes, wrap it up. That was just the story of the night for Westminster. They never quite could get their offense going, and Oakdale's field position might have been the difference in the game. Besides those big plays, the hook and ladder and things like that. But
I think they got stronger as the game went by defensively.
You think Oakdale did?
They started to pick momentum.
Right.
They gave up a big play here and there, but by and large, they were able to contain Westminster's attack.
Well, let's congratulate Westminster again on a 10-win season. Co-county championship with Liberty and South Carroll, one of the best teams in the area. Kyrese Walker was really fun to watch. Mason Fisher closes out his career, high school career, one of the all-time best receivers in county history. I know you got some family ties with Westminster as well, so you got a little bit of owl blood in you too.
Owl blood in me too. 4 kids went through the school. They all played at Westminster, so yeah.
But to see those guys, you watch Westminster a good bit. Really, really good team, fundamentally sound, and Coach Chris Baz are just doing a really good job there at
He's
Westminster.
He's an ex-key boy.
Yeah, he is.
He played at Key.
But he's done a really good job as the coach here in the last couple of seasons. Let's get back to Parker Field. South Carroll trying to make something happen on that offense after that good punt return. but I believe Harford Tech's defense has been up for the challenge pretty much all night. Let's go to Parker Field and see what's happening.
Okay.
So this is a first down run. And a nice stop there on defense. That's 28 Jackson Shakur, yeah. So that was a good stop by Harford Tech. They've been doing that all night. And we're going to go back to Parker Field just to show the final few seconds, or maybe even just the post-game Ruby Field, excuse me, the final few seconds and the handshakes there between Oakdale and Westminster. Final score, Oakdale 33, Westminster 14. We'll take it over to Ruby Field here and just see the post-game preliminaries here. But again, like we mentioned, just a really good season for Westminster. 10 wins, county championship, a piece of it, and a spot in the state quarterfinals. Second time for Coach Basler. Here's the last few seconds, Coach, over there on the replay. Yeah. Oakdale celebrating. They'll move on in the 3A playoffs onto the 3A semifinals.
Are they playing Lake Charles? Is that who it was?
Yeah, yes. It looks like that will be that game. So because of the upset over Athelton, Lake Charles, the number 8 seed, not playing like an 8 seed. That's for sure, but just too much Oakdale tonight. Right off the bat, scoring early, scoring on the hook and ladder, putting Westminster on its heels early on. The difference in the game, and then the Bears played really good defense too. Yeah.
They made the big plays when they had to, on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively.
Yep. Yeah, no, you're right, and that's hats off to the Bears for advancing, beating 2 really good teams in the last 2 weeks in Frederick and Westminster. Let's go back to Parker Field, where I think the Cavaliers had the ball, but are pretty much pinned back behind the chains. Let's go ahead and take a look. Yeah, so that's a 3rd and 25 now, Coach, for South Carroll with under 4 minutes to go.
Oh, screen.
The screen that didn't really go anywhere. Harford Tech's defense has really, really been good tonight, and that was a play that was blown up.
It almost seems like they knew every play was coming before it even came.
That one sure did. They had a jailbreak on defense, and they were able to stuff that screen. I believe that made it a 4th and forever, and I think South Carroll punted. South Carroll punted back to Harford Tech. Again, still some time, 3 minutes or so to go, but South Carroll's got to get it back now, play strong defense, and pop a play on offense, or else it's going to be Harford Tech advancing to the state semis. Another 3A quarterfinal, Damascus beating Long Reach 47-12, but Damascus was a 3 seed.
Damascus is tough. They are good.
They are really good, yeah. Let's go back to Westminster one more time. Ruby Field, I think you're just going to have a little huddle here for the Owls. The game's over. This is where Coach Basler's just trying to, like you said, talk to his guys one more time before the uniforms get turned in. And in a post-game huddle like that, Coach, I know, definitely going to be some emotions there, but what are 1 or 2 things you want to try to stress the most to the seniors? The guys that just played their last high school game, many of them, their last football game.
Yeah. I think most coaches have pretty good, strong relationship with their seniors. And almost individually, you're going up to each one of the seniors and tell them how much they meant to him. And a pleasure of working with him and say, hey, you did great, keep your chin up, and let's just keep moving ahead in your future. You did great. I appreciate everything you've done for our program.
And to the underclassmen, to the guys who, for all likelihood, will be back next year, do you want them to sort of, let it sting a little bit because you want them to feel that and you want that to be the source of motivation? Or do you want them to forget about it and move on and get into the weight room? How do you play that one?
Kind of both ways.
Okay.
Let's look at what we did this year. Let's look at what you guys did this year. Let's remember what we've done, the successes we had. Let's build on the success. You want to be here next year? What's it going to take to be here next year?
Right.
Look at yourselves individually. What do you have to do? You need to get in the weight room. What are the things you have to do so that you can come back here next year and be part of this again?
You just mentioned the weight room. Before we go back to Parker Field, I've always heard coaches stress how important that is, and some counties have taken that and just really made it to their success. Mm-hmm. Other schools, and I've heard some Carroll coaches say they have trouble with kids getting in the weight room in the offseason. How important is that weight room dedication in the offseason? I know you're going to do it during the season. The offseason starts for Westminster now tomorrow.
Right.
How many kids need to be in the weight room every day as much as they can to stay in that competitive shape?
That's where your leadership on the team comes from. The kids that are coming back, the seniors that are coming back next year, they set the example by going to the weight room and making sure they get some of the other guys who who they feel can help the team, get them into the weight room at the same time. Again, you're building your team. And building the team starts with building a team of guys who are willing to go in the weight room and work.
How much did you emphasize when you were, I know it was a little while ago, but how much did you emphasize dedication to the weight room? Because, it makes or breaks the season.
It does. Well, Pat, when I started coaching at Key, we didn't have a weight room.
There's your answer right there. Let's go.
But we found other ways to work out,
other
exercises and programs you can do to build up strength in the off season.
Right.
So we come up with ideas of things that they could do.
Let's go to Parker Field for a third down play. The Cavaliers trying to make something happen. That was a good answer, Coach. 3rd and 6 here. Big play for South Carroll here. For Harford Tech on a 3rd and 6 with 2.5 to go.
Yeah.
They got to have a stop on this play.
Let's go.
And that's going to be a 1st down and more. Oh, cuts back. Huge play. Number 1, Troy Wallace Jr. Take a look at this play again, Coach. South Carroll, this might have broken their backs here. They had to have this stop on 3rd down. There's nobody there. He comes around around the left side, and there's nobody there.
Contained man stepped inside, said staying outside. Opened up that all the way.
And a cut back got him an extra 3 or 4 yards, and that is a huge play for the Cobras. They're set up now in the red zone. South Carroll with only 2.5 or so to go. I can see them right there. They're sort of yelling at each other. You're right. Somebody missed an assignment there on that play.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll see that again.
Yeah.
Watch the contained.
No, go ahead. Just tell me. We won't, but tell me what that is with the contained guy.
The outside. Somebody on the outside has contained those. His first thing is to make sure everything comes inside, if nothing gets out.
Okay.
He got hooked in, and that opened up the outside.
So a good job by Harford Tech, and obviously South Carroll's defense needed to adjust there on the fly. Easier said than done. We can say that sitting here and now on the field, but a huge play for Harford Tech to try to get another road win. And again, the Cobras need revenge because they lost on this field last year, one game before going to the state championship game. But
so now all you can do is try to get a fumble, create a fumble, something to turn the ball over, a turnover.
Right. Well, let's go back to see what happened. Parker Field, where the Cobras are knocking on the door, and here we go. 2 minutes to go, 1st and 10, Harford Tech. And that's Wallace Jr. again, and that's a touchdown. So 2 big plays, and just like that, here it is. Here's the touchdown again. Hand off to Wallace. Pretty smooth sailing there through the middle of South Carroll's defense.
Yeah. We talked about the line play at the beginning of the game, which line, offensively and defensively, was going to take control. And you can see pretty much defensively, Harford took control. Offensively, here and there. But when they needed it, their offensive line did the job.
And just South Carroll just hasn't been able to get anything going offensively, and credit Harford Tech for that, because even last year's game was 14-13, a low-scoring game, but South Carroll did just enough. Tonight, they've done nothing on offense, points-wise. They moved the ball a little bit here and there, and they had some nice plays, but behind the sticks, punting, some rough punts on field position. Harford Tech has a 2-score lead now, 14-0. With 1:37 to go. Now it's desperation mode for the Cavaliers. We're running out of time. South Carroll, or I should say Westminster, had a little more time earlier in their game to sort of make a comeback, fell short. If you're Coach Mike Krause, you really need to start making things happen on that offense, the whole team, I should say, on offense, make things going. Let's go back out to Parker Field. Harford Tech leads by 2. South Carolina, a pretty good return apparently on the kickoff. Let's see their offense here, Coach, on what they can do here to try to get back in the game. 1:45 to go. And Mazalewski is going to try to throw it. They're going to almost have to throw it now at this point. And that was complete to the outside. Yes.
Yes. All right. Okay. Still 137.
That's 9. Jackson Strelzik with the catch, and he got out of bounds too. So that's a good play there, and a good start on that drive. But they got to make them happen quick, right? You're running out of time. Everything's got to be to the sidelines. I mean, I'm sure they have. They looks like they have 1 timeout left, so they can stop the clock one more time. But other than being out of bounds, it's going to be tough for South Carroll to overcome this 2-score lead with this late in the game.
Harper's going to give them, they're going to give them the short yards and stuff over the middle so that the clock will keep running.
Right. Even if it's a short yardage out of the bounds, that's okay too if you're Harford Tech, because you're just keeping.
Don't want to give them the bomb.
Containing. And that's not South Carroll's style. The bomb is not their style. So again, about a minute or so. It looks like it's counting down. Under a minute and 10 left there. Harford Tech's down 2 scores. Harford Tech's up 2 scores. South Carroll is down 14-0. The Cavaliers really need to to get things going on offense if they want any chance to come back in this game and time's running out. Again, if you're Mike Krause and you're about to talk to these guys, if this is going to be the final score, a 9-win season, it didn't end where they wanted it to, being in the state championship game, but another great. They've only lost 2 games in there right now, 2 games combined in the last season, and a season and 2/3 or whatever it is. Really, really great for South Carroll to get to this point. I know they still want to try to win this game, but if you're Coach Mike Krause and you want to talk to the Cavaliers afterward, what's the first few things you think you want to try to say? If you're the coach, just how proud you are of these guys for getting back again to a quarterfinal.
And that's it. You hit the nail on it. How proud you are of what they've accomplished this year. And that pride they should have in themselves, because some games during this season were hard fought that they had to come from behind and win.
No doubt.
So they have done a lot. They've accomplished a lot. Hey, maybe we didn't get here, but, take pride in what we have done. We did get here, and you got here because of the work that you guys done. So I'm proud of you, no matter what the score is. And for you young guys, let's take a look at that scoreboard. Let's next year have a goal to turn that scoreboard around. Let's do what it takes to make it happen next year. You guys know, search yourselves inside. What do I need to do to make it happen next year?
Right. And if this is the final game of A.J. Rodriguez's high school career, it's been a treat watching him play football the last couple of years for South Carroll. You've seen plenty of really, really good players, and I don't want you to rank them, but I know that you would put A.J. on a list of some of the all-time greats.
There have been some great players in Carroll County. He definitely rates up the best. He's not just a good runner, but I understand from everybody talking. He's just a great young man.
Yep.
He's got a heart. He's got a desire. He's a team player. He works to make things happen. So he's got, again, a lot to be proud of for what he's accomplished.
Right.
Let's take what he's learned and take it into the future.
Yeah. Whether it's graduating from high school at the end of next year, and also he's still got a wrestling season to get through, and he's a really, really good wrestler. So I expect to see some success from him on the mat as well. And that Cavaliers wrestling team has already begun practicing. Of course, a lot of the guys who are on the football team can't get out to the mat yet. But it's understandable. It's always a weird time of year, right? When the winter's begun, but you still got some guys playing some fall sports. It's one of those things that is the nature of the beast, right? Because the practice has already begun for the winter, but you still want to try to do some good things in the fall. Yeah. Let's get back to Parker Field. We got a few more plays to show you, hopefully, here at the end of this final minute or so. It's 1st and 10 for South Carroll after a pass interference, Coach. So they're down closer to scoring range. And Mazalewski incomplete, and there's a flag. It looks like that's going to be pass interference again. Unlike the NFL, though, it won't be 1st and goal at the 1. It'll be a 15-yard. Let's watch this again here, the same play. It won't be 15-yard penalty. It won't be a spot foul. It's just a 15-yard penalty. It's a nice throw from Mazalewski to roll away.
Yeah, you put that ball up, let just go for it.
Yeah, I guess that's face guarding maybe. You can't face guard because I didn't see too much action or too much hand fighting there. But anyway, regardless, the flag was thrown, I think.
That's what you want. Throw it up for grabs, whoever gets the ball.
Right. And that's what you're doing right now with only 50 seconds or so left, right, if you're South Carroll. Looks like you're in about the 25, 30-yard line, so you can score here. And with this little bit of time left, Coach, is it score, get the extra point, onside? We ought to go to onside kick?
Onside kick, which you've had practice a number of times during the season.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Maybe it's a special type of, all kinds of onside kicks.
Sure. Well, let's see what happened there. It's 1st down now, I believe, for South Carroll after that pass interference. Let's go back to Parker Field there at the 10-yard line, Coach. 1st down with 47 seconds left. Mazalewski's got to get rid of it, and he does not.
See, that's the thing. Young quarterbacks got to learn to get rid of that football.
Jacob Walker with a part of that big sack. Here's that play again. I think if you're Carter Mazalewski, you just got to throw it in the end zone right before that pressure comes. That's a huge loss of down for.
That's what you're telling you. If nothing else, throw the ball away.
Throw the ball away, yeah. So now you had to call your final timeout, and now it's going to be 2nd and long if you're South Carolina. You're really up against it now. Harford Tech's got to be smelling a victory pretty soon here.
Pretty good smell.
Pretty good smell, absolutely.
That's a pretty good smell.
It sure is. Well, let's see what's going on right now, what's cooking. South Carroll, 2nd and 25. Back to Parker Field we go. So here we go, Coach. 37 seconds left. Mazalewski up top. Touchdown, I believe. Touchdown. So there you go. There will be no shutout. with 31 seconds left. Let's take a look at that
Beautiful
play. That's a
pass,
nice
great
throw.
catch.
Yeah, nice throw. Just trying to see who made the grab. It looked like it might have been 11, Drake Hebron. Yeah, number 11 for South Carroll.
Is that Drake Hebron?
Yeah, 6'2", 175 senior.
I coached his father.
Well, there you go. Small world, right?
Small world.
So look, 14-6, pending the extra point here. Half a minute left. You just talked to me a second ago about onside kicks. 14-7, they made the extra point.
And you work on different kinds of onside kicks.
Yeah, so different ways to kick it, different ways to formate the formations. Which one's tougher?
Actually.
Okay.
And you have one that's always going to be your favorite.
Right.
That you've worked on over and over again. That the guy's just got to sell out on.
Right. Because you just don't see that too often in the game, but you definitely want to work on it, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right. So we'll see the. We'll see South Carroll made the extra point, I believe, to go
14-7.
Down by one score, 14-7. We'll get back as soon as we can to see the onside kick. What's the most important thing on the onside kick? Obviously, you want to stay on bounds and stay onside. You've got one you like the best. Do you go with maybe just go out there with two in mind?
Yeah, maybe. You remind the guys how they're going to be blocking on. Usually you're going to attack the other team by blocking them to keep them away from the ball. Just remind people of their assignments and remind the kicker of how he's going to kick the ball again and where he wants to kick. There might be certain spots he wants to put the ball.
Right.
And remind the guys who are covering it where the ball is going so they know, not just running blindly to cover the ball.
And if you're Harford Tech and you see the onside kick coming up, what's your strategy there? I mean, obviously you fall on the ball. It's got to go 10 yards.
Right.
But
you got your best ball handlers
there you go, yeah.
on the thing, and you kind of everybody converges on the ball at the same time to try to protect whoever does get the ball from having it stripped from them.
Right, right. And that ball bounces funny, as we know, especially on this wet field.
That's what you want. Sometimes it's, again, different types of punt. One that has a bounce to it, that'll go up in the air is probably the best kind.
Right.
Then everybody has a chance to go for the ball.
Yeah. Well, this would be it. Whenever we find out what happens here on the onside kick, if Harford Tech gets it, the season's over because South Carroll can't stop the clock.
Right.
If South Carroll gets the ball back, then they've got a chance. Let's go ahead and see the onside kick here between Harford Tech and South Carroll. Cavaliers got to have the ball.
So what kind of kick he's going to do here? See the bounce like that?
Did get a good bounce, but Harford Tech's hands team is right on it, right at midfield.
Well, speaking of that bounce, you want to get a bounce that goes really way up in the air.
That was good effort from South Carroll's kicker, but the hands team right there. It's a really hard play to try to get if you're South Carroll, try to recover it. And without any timeouts, Coach, that's going to do it. Of course, Josh Allen tried to get it out of the end zone or whatever it was. We could never know. It could be a fumble right here on some sort of snap, but looks like for all intents and purposes, it's going to be the end of the road here for South Carroll. A tough loss for the Cavaliers, who I know wanted nothing more than to be back in the state semifinals, and they would have been at home because they were a 2 seed.
You know, Pat, they didn't quit. They came down. They did get a score at the end, and they had a shot with the onside kick.
Right.
So a lot of kudos for them at the same time.
Absolutely. And that is a final now. 14-7 Harford Tech over South Carroll. We can go back to Parker Field and show the handshakes there. But again, Carroll County's teams fall a little short in the quarterfinals as we see the handshakes between the Cavaliers and Harford Tech as the final seconds tick away. Harford Tech 14, South Carroll 7. Congratulations to the Cobras for advancing after losing to South Carroll last year in the semifinals. Probably the worst loss, the most bitter loss you can have is that one that before you lose the championship game, in my mind anyway. Instead, this one, as you see the handshakes here, a quarterfinal defeat for South Carroll, and Harford Tech will advance to the 2A, 1A state semifinals. We saw the other game as well, Oakdale 33, Westminster 14. We had Harford Tech beating South Carroll 14-7, and that's the end of the line for Carroll County football in 2022, but a really, really good season, a lot of fun, a lot of success that a lot of different teams had. Just what you said, I know you're a Carroll County high school football enthusiast. Some of the things you took away, I know it just ended, of course, but from this season, what you saw at Carroll County and their athletes.
Well, I've seen several of the teams this year, Pat, and I think there's a lot of potential for all the teams. They got a lot of key players coming back, and the key is also for the coaches to stay with the kids, work with them in the off season, start thinking about next year. I know may not want to do that right away. You want to give them a little break, get their mind off football for a little bit, but let them know, hey, we're going to be getting back together. We are going to be working. In the meantime, really start looking at what you're doing. If you got other sports, play them, but stay in touch with your players. Encourage them and let them know, hey, we're going to be coming back next year. We're going to build a team, and we're going to win. We're going to win more games next year than we did last year. But it's going to depend on the incoming seniors. Who are the seniors that are coming back? You guys might be the ones I'm looking to as a leader to lead the team. So I'm going to work with them. They're going to work with me. We're going to work with each other. But to get back to your question, there's a lot of teams in Carroll County have a lot of great young players coming up next year. So next year could be another great season for Carroll County football.
And next year starts now, because now we're done with 2022. Our post-game report, stick with us, Coach. Our post-game report is sponsored by Genova's To Go. Locations in Westminster, Manchester, Hampstead, Hanover, and coming soon, Eldersburg. Genova's is pizza, pasta, subs, and more as we see South Carroll's final post-game huddle of the 2022 season. Again, not where the South Carroll Cavaliers wanted to finish it, but like Coach Bill McKenna just said, the underclassmen, the guys that will be back next year, that are probably going to take this motivation, and now they know what it feels like to lose a state tournament game that they didn't get a chance to lose that until they got to the finals, of course, last year. But that weight room dedication, the off-season training, the other sports they play, it all begins now. It feels like the first day of practice is forever and ever away, but it's really not that far away. We'll be back sweating it out again in August for those practices, and just a really, really fun season to watch, Carroll County progress. And like Coach Krause said last year, get better and better and make noise in these state playoffs.
Exactly.
So it's been fun.
I enjoyed this tonight. I enjoyed you coaching me how to do this tonight, Pat. It was a lot of fun to be together.
Nah, you're the one that helped me along here tonight, because it's not the easiest thing here trying to do a little bit of red zone like we've been doing. We've had some success with it. We've obviously enjoyed bringing it to you guys, the Carroll County football fans out there. And Bill, just again, our thanks. I mean, you helped us on site for a game this year, FSK Westminster. We called you out of the bullpen and brought you back out one more time, and you delivered again. We really appreciate your expertise and your time. Bob, we're going to go to you again real quick in the control center. I didn't know if there was anything you wanted to say, some final thoughts as we close the book on 2022 Carroll County Athletic League football.
Well, exactly, Pat. It was a great year. I know we had a lot of fun in here watching it. We had a great time doing the games of the week, getting you together with some of these fantastic ex-coaches, and just watching some great football. 3 different teams tied for the county championship. First time in 20 years that's happened.
Right.
We saw 3 really good teams. We saw some nice playoff runs. Didn't go quite as far as they had hoped to. Both teams, I think, had a chance to win tonight, but maybe they didn't bring their 8th game. The visiting teams did. So that's the way it happens sometimes. But from back here in the control room, Pat, Coach McKenna, thanks a lot. We really enjoyed it, and back to you.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Bob. Thanks to John Steeman, thanks to Ken Speedy Johnson, thanks to Mike Coons, and thanks to Bill McKenna for really being our eyes and ears in terms of the coaches that have done it in Carroll County before, enjoyed success, had to deal with some losses along the way, playoff games here and there from all those different guys. So it is going to be the end of the line for Carroll County football, but we're going to have some more sports along the way here. We're not done with fall sports just yet, because coming up in a few weeks, we'll be putting together our fall sports wrap-up show, and look for that in the coming weeks before we get into the holiday season. And just like we talked a few minutes ago, winter sports right around the corner starts in a few weeks' time. And we're going to finish tonight before we sign off, or as we sign off and say goodnight. Again, Pat Stoetzer and Bill McKenna here for CMSportsNet Friday Night Football. A look back at some of the highlights from this night's games. Harford Tech and Oakdale moving on. South Carroll and Westminster falling a little bit short in the state quarterfinals. For Bill McKenna, I'm Pat Stoetzer. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. We'll see you guys next time. Hey there, I'm Pat Stoetzer.
And I'm Michael Duffy, inviting you to join us for The Score and more.
It's our new podcast, and each week we'll talk about high school sports in Carroll County. We'll share information about upcoming games, highlight coaches and athletes, and much more.
We'll even try to have a little fun along the way. Don't miss the Score and More podcast presented by CMSportsNet.
The Score and More Sports podcast is available online at carrollmediacenter.org and on a variety of podcast channels.
What does it take to cover local high school sports? It takes staff and volunteers, equipment, training, and community support from people like you. You can help by making a donation to the Community Media Center today. Your gift is an investment in our community, our schools, and most of all, our student athletes. We want to expand our coverage to include both boys and girls sports, but we can't do it without your help. So please, make your donation today and help us bring high school sports to every screen in Carroll County.
Skill, dedication, leadership. Just a few of the things it takes to be named CMSportsNet's Athlete of the Week. Hi, I'm Pat Stoetzer. Each week, CMSportsNet recognizes an outstanding player for their contribution to their sport. Meet some of Carroll County student athletes and join us as we celebrate their performance, impact, and outstanding accomplishments. The CMSportsNet Athlete of the Week is sponsored by Genova's To Go, locations in Westminster, Manchester, Hampstead, Hanover, and coming soon, Eldersburg. Genova's To Go, pizza, pasta, subs, and more.
That's picked off by touchdown.
Hi, I'm Mike Preston of the Community Media Center. We're going to give you front row seats of highlights of Carroll County football. And we're going to take you behind the scenes. We're going to give you a front row seat. We're going to take you places that no one else can take you.
But we need your help. We're looking for volunteers to help us cover the game. If you have a passion for the sport and are willing to learn, we want to hear from you.
You can bring high school football to every screen in Carroll County. Some of the best plays in football happen right here, and you can be a part of it.
Contact us today and find out how you can help us capture some of the best plays in the game.
Are you ready to join the team?